Hey, thanks for clicking on the video. This is another episode of SNTR Gaming, which is a live stream, so these VODs or videos are pretty long. We do open the video with a short segment. I want to give you the recap and my thoughts on the Sony State of Play. If you like these videos, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss the live streams. This opening segment is recorded for another website or channel, that we run. This is an SNTR update. The Sony State of Play in October is receiving some criticism from viewers as well as fans that there just wasn't enough and that it was weak. Many even questioned why they would do this. I want to talk about the highlights and the things that I actually thought were pretty good, and maybe even talk about why it's okay to showcase the smaller titles. If you like these short update videos over here on SNTR Updates, hit subscribe and the bell button, or check out SNTR Gaming where I live streamed this. So, first and foremost, I thought Deathverse, the one that they're showing right now over my shoulder here, I actually thought that was a surprise. I didn't know another sort of arena fighter was coming out. Certainly seems a little bit unique, and the engine that it's running on seems to run very smooth. Although I don't know if this is a lane, industry, or genre that's going to be all that popular, it did look somewhat promising. Next was the Bugsnax update. That's actually a fairly popular game, and they're doing a free DLC called the Isle of Bigsnax, which, if you like that game, that's exciting to see that free DLC treatment. Then we have Death's Door. Death's Door is coming to PlayStation on November 23rd. Now, if you haven't checked out Death's Door, this is very exciting. This game sold 100,000 copies in its first week. Little indie title, and it was very, very exciting to see that it was coming to PlayStation. So if you haven't gotten to check it out yet and you have a PlayStation, be sure to check out Death's Door on November the 23rd. Kart Rider Drift, kart games, Mario Kart, kind of a ripoff, whatever you want to call it. I actually thought it looked kind of fun. Kart Rider Drift, little kart games, I think are enjoyable. They're fun throwaway games with your friends. It's coming 2022 free to play. Sony dipping its toes into free to play, more arcade style games is interesting. There's a couple other games they've been doing in this sort of vein. Arcadeageddon is another one that was just sort of unique for the PlayStation universe, and it'll be interesting to see how Kart Rider does. Then there was First Class Trouble. That's coming on November the 2nd. This was basically Among Us in a hotel, and poor little Among Us doing everything they can. I actually think when games like this launch, it is good for Among Us because it makes everybody draw the comparison and say, oh, this game's like Among Us, and it's for people that maybe haven't played it yet, they might check it out, and Among Us is coming to PlayStation. So these knockoffs, these mimics, these copycats, they probably actually help Among Us in the long run, even if it might start to feel like their bones are being sort of picked over. Then there was the JRPG Star Ocean: The Divine Force. I was watching this with my producer, with Creature, and I said, how long is it going to take for them to be in a big open field with a giant sword killing some crazy big monster? And it was hilariously accurate. It was exactly how it ended up being. So if you're a fan of JRPGs, be sure to check that one out, see if it's something that you'll like. And then last but certainly not least, the one that everybody was waiting for is Little Devil Inside. And I'm not even sure what to make of this game. It certainly looks interesting. But there did seem to be sort of a lot of different themes. There was like weird traveling, there was fighting, there was cooking. You apparently have like set paths that you're on sometimes, but sometimes not. I thought it actually looked kind of promising, but definitely unique. Now, to answer the question, should Sony have done a State of Play like this? I actually like when the smaller companies and the indie titles get to take center stage, and this was a pretty short State of Play, like 20, 25 minutes. And I'm okay with this. I'm okay with them, doing something that's a little bit more meager, a little bit more moderate, because you can't have a big, crazy announcement every single time you decide to talk to the public. That just isn't really feasible. You're going to run out of titles, trailers, and things to announce. And so I thought it was totally fine to do a shorter one with smaller, more indie titles, lesser known titles, because that's probably pretty exciting for them and for the fans of those franchises. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Should they have even done this? What did you think about the titles announced? And if you like these video game update videos, I like to say videos a lot. If you like these updates, be sure to hit subscribe and the bell button, and I'll see you in the next one. And good morning to everybody else that is here right now. Thank you guys so much for being here. You freaked me out so much, Chris, when you said no audio. I was like, oh no, did I just go live without audio? I was fiddling around with all of my audio settings last night, and I even did a test recording this morning to make sure I didn't screw anything up. I'm working on a project that requires me to do things with my mixer, and then I have to do things in Windows, and I was like, oh my gosh, I messed something up when I saw your comment. Is it a video though? Well, I got in my head because I get these morons that keep saying like, he says it's a short video, but it's 3 hours long. And it's like, I literally opened the VOD by saying it's a past broadcast, and I'm about to record a short segment for another channel, and they don't get it. They don't get it at all. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. We appreciate you guys being here so much. And the plan for today is to cover the state of play right now, state of play recap. We've got a topic for New World and a New World stream planned. They are reinstating server transfers today. I've got all the info for you in a little update. And then we will be checking out Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm going to slot time for it today. And then am I muted in Discord? I shouldn't be. No, it looks like my mic is procking in Discord. I might have to reboot Discord because of everything that I did. Give me 1 second. But we will have the continuation of the Say No to Rage story today over on SNTR Presents. And we will follow that with a live AMA. So we appreciate everybody that's been supporting that continued story. What's good, Radical? Good to see you in the stream. You do not have permission to speak in this channel. I'm sorry, what? I don't understand. Become the speaker. How about now? No, doesn't seem to be working. I'm gonna have to go into my voice settings in this because I messed with stuff last night. Input device. No, it's showing my mic working. I don't know. It's showing my mic working. There we go. It's working. Okay, now you can hear me. Okay, cool. Yeah, when you change, like, the default recording device, Discord gets grumpy. Okay, there we go. So, yeah, we have a very packed schedule today. We have a lot of shows, a lot of content, a lot of things to discuss. I'm curious what you guys thought of the Sony State of Play. You could hear me the whole time, Christina? Oh, well, maybe he's just got an issue. I was going to say. Oh, yeah, Menacing could hear me. Okay, well, thank you. We got that straightened out. Let's get our first 100 likes. We only need like 28 more likes. And get those coffee orders in if you haven't ordered any. My wife printed off some stuff last night. What is this? Lost Light is available. I don't even know what this is. Okay, our live notification went out. Cool. Yo, what's good, feed? I see you in the chat. Appreciate you so much. So yeah, Eugene says, literal crap, there's the recap. I'm curious why people think that, though. Like, what do they want these showcases to be? They can't be big announcements every time. There's got to be a time for the smaller games and the smaller announcements. Why are smaller games and smaller announcements seen as a bad thing, right? What are your thoughts on New World losing 70% of their player base? My thoughts are you're just another one of those people that snipes a stat from Steam charts to try to, like, create a headline or drama or provoke. I'm not talking about New World right now, and I guarantee you this is what happens every time with Steam charts. People completely misread them. Last I checked, they were still hitting 24-hour peaks of 500,000 players almost, and there was at least when I checked yesterday, concurrent players of over 250,000. So losing 70% of their player base is always overstated and misrepresented by those journalists because they're clickbait trash. Basically, what happens with virtually every game is in the first weeks, they hit player peaks and player saturations that are unnatural because everybody wants to play. Players then create what I would call saturation equilibrium, which is when players engage at more regular intervals, and therefore the peaks and the concurrent player numbers drop. This does not mean that all of the players that played in the first week have completely stopped playing. What this means is they are simply playing less. Playing less does not mean that the player base has actually shrunk. This gets misrepresented virtually every single time new games launch to great praise and high numbers, and then about a month later, some hack writes an article to claim that the player base has plummeted by 50, 60, 70%, which is a complete misrepresentation of what the Steam charts represent. The Steam charts merely represent the concurrent player base numbers as well as the 24-hour player number peaks, which is not representative of how many people are still actively playing in a 36-hour period or a week. So, it was just a question. Sorry for asking. This just happens all the time. This just happens all the time. It's like he was prepared with an answer. I wasn't prepared with an answer. I didn't even realize there was an article. I didn't even realize anybody was saying that. I checked the player base numbers yesterday, and I was like, this looks pretty normal, steady downward decline of daily engagement. That's going to happen with virtually every game. No, that's why the articles are so disingenuous and so misrepresentative. Not a single game in existence will ever maintain the numbers that they have in their first week. It's simply impossible. That has never happened. I don't think there's a single game out there that 3 weeks, 4 weeks in is maintaining launch week numbers, and yet these articles always come out. Why? They get people to click, they get people that hate the game or hate on the game or, whatever, to get all like wound up. Thank you for a long-time lurker, first-time caller. Thank you. Fortnite? Well, you see the difference there is you're making a false comparison. None of those games, Warzone and Apex, are not games that had launch weeks that received giant acclaim and downloads. Fortnite grew over time, launched as early access. Warzone grew over time, did not have a crazy high fever pitch of a launch. Apex had a decent launch because of the promotion of the streamers, but again, has slowly grown over time. Now you're just doing false equivalency comparisons. I said no game that has a giant, huge, successful launch week maintains those numbers. That doesn't mean they can't grow back to those numbers slowly over time, but generally speaking, virtually every game that has a crazy, super big, successful launch week, it always goes down and settles into a more predictable equilibrium of saturation. Players just generally play in different patterns after the launch week, especially for something like an MMO, especially considering the queue times at the beginning were a large, I think, misrepresentation of how many people were actively playing. Most people were sitting in a queue because they couldn't get in, but they were booted up in the game in Steam, and therefore they were triggering the Steam chart. So a game like Fortnite, a game like Warzone, a game like Apex, they did not for 4 straight weeks maintain numbers. Over time, they grew to numbers that maybe outshined or outpaced their launch weeks. But Fortnite's Battle Royale launched to... people didn't even believe it. They thought it was a joke. They thought it was a meme. It wasn't some big, huge, crazy, successful launch. And Call of Duty Warzone's player numbers have actually been in decline. They were in like the 10 or 11 million unique logins a day or a week or whatever, and it dropped to like 8 or 9 million. So no, they don't maintain their player numbers either. Generally speaking, games don't do that. Games go up, games go down. They'll have a big surge of interest because a new season starts, and then it tends to temper down. Look at the player base numbers anytime there's a new season in a game like Warzone or Fortnite. Their player base numbers will spike way up, and you probably have lag issues, maybe you have latency issues or queue time issues, so the player base numbers spike way up. And then 2-3 weeks later or so, they tend to settle down into a more predictable rhythm of player. Again, this is just clickbait. This is just clickbait trash articles that people write because it gets them clicks, it gets them ad revenue, and it's a misrepresentation of the game's player base. There isn't a number somewhere that you can consult from Steam charts, by the way, to get... And it would be great if we could get this, the number of unique logins for a 7-day period. That would be more indicative of what the player base looks like, because in the first seven days, there was like 700,000 people at a time trying to play the dadgum game. Like, that's not tenable. Almost 1 million players. Like, I don't know if that doesn't seem like a tenable number. Eventually it's going to just slow down. I mean, I would think. So many people don't care enough about these indies on their own to get their own state of play, so the entire state of play is going to get overshadowed by negativity press rather than showcasing otherwise probably great games. My issue with the state of play is this. If I'm going to criticize it for anything, it's like you have to have a tent pole. You have to have a tent pole, because if not, all these indies, like you're saying, they're just going to get overshadowed by negativity. People are going to be like, what a bunch of trash, what a bunch of garbage. The goal, I would think, would typically be that you would try to do is you would try to say, we're going to have a showcase, and we're going to finally give you some information on a big title. Like, save a big title in your back pocket, okay? And, maybe some gameplay or something. So then the entire time people are waiting, they're obviously impatient, ravenous dogs in the chat. They're like, show us the thing, show us the thing. Like, maybe they were going to show off, we have new gameplay from Horizon Forbidden West showing off some of Aloy's new abilities or whatever, okay? And the entire time that the indies would be showing during the Sony State of Play, people would be frothing at the mouth and being nasty and terrible, and we don't care about this trash. But the point is that you keep an audience during the entire showcase because you have this tent pole at the end, okay? And then you would hope out of the hundreds of thousands, eventually these videos end up with, close to 1 million or more views. You would hope out of all of those views, there are people that say, oh, that game looked cool. That kart game looked cool. The Deathverse game looked cool, or, whatever. You're casting this wide net, this sort of like buffet of different games, and you would hope, you're like, well, some people might end up liking these, but the main reason they're tuning in is for the new Horizon Forbidden West gameplay, right? That's the main thing people would be tuning in. That would be the reason to keep them there. Without a tent pole, I will say, from a production and a structural standpoint, it is pretty harsh to just be like, here's 20 minutes of indies. People are going to eviscerate that. I don't eviscerate it because I like indie games. I thought all these games looked pretty cool. I was like, good on PlayStation for some, backing some indies, backing some smaller games. The games they showed are fine. My issue is they're not show-worthy. But is it a show? Like, is a 20-minute state of play? Like, how often do they do these? Do they do these once a month? Is it once a month? If it's once a month, I don't see the big deal. It's once a month being like, hey, here's some new stuff that's coming, right? People in the PlayStation groups were cracking me up, complaining about not liking the new extra long commercial. The new extra long commercial? Which one? The one at the beginning with, like, the band? The one at the beginning with the band was pretty... I hate using the word cringy, but it was pretty cringy. Okay, so it's once a month. I don't know. I look at it differently. It's not a show, like a conference show with a main stage. It's not like Phil Spencer's walking out. It's not like they're sitting down and interviewing devs. It's literally 20 minutes of like, here's some stuff on the horizon. Sometimes it'll be big. Sometimes it won't, right? I mean, as a YouTuber, I think I kind of empathize and sympathize with that. It's like, dude, sometimes I have cool, big things to talk about, and sometimes I don't. Like, but I gotta do it every day. I gotta go live. I gotta do a show, right? I'm talking about something right now that wasn't really big news. The last State of Play was an absolute banger, and our stream the next day was amazing, right? And today, probably not. I know exactly what that's like. I know what it's like. You can't always have a big story, a big game, a big announcement. It's not friggin' possible. Like, sometimes a State of Play is literally going to be, here's 20 minutes of trailers of, varying degrees of games in size, substance, and quality that are coming out. They do indie showcases and State of Plays. Yesterday was not State of Play worthy. Indies take the spotlight with a day of new reveals and updates. But when do they do the indie? When do they do the indie stuff? I've never seen that. Is it like a blog? Nobody forces you to watch State of Play. You can wait 5 minutes after the show. There is own video for every game that was there. Watch those. Right. Security breach was the only thing people wanted to see. Security breach. What's that? I'm kind of agreeing with Eugene here. Maybe it's literally in the name because it's called State of Play. Expectations are higher. I do appreciate that Xbox calls theirs Xbox Indie Showcase. 2 possible good games, Little Devil Inside and Star Ocean. The rest was toilet. And what's up with the graphics? They look really simple. They're indie games, so of course they're simple. I was really excited for Death's Door because I think it's an absolute triumph of an indie title, so landing on PlayStation was really excited. I actually thought the Kart Rider game looked really, really fun. And Deathverse is not my cup of tea, but I'm curious what engine it runs in. The engine looked interesting to me. The movement, the fluidity, to me, looked interesting. Like, ooh, I love that. That thumbnail is so good, Creature, for the Squid Game. That's good. I like that. Better communication of what's included would get them better results. Well, knowing what we know, Creature, about engagement, I don't know. I don't know if they should tell people ahead of time. Hey, we got the Madam Challenge going to Genks. Genks ordered some coffee. My wife cannot decide which she likes more, the light roast or the dark roast. So you can take the Madam Challenge and you can order a bag of dark roast and an order of Frickmas blend. She can't decide. The Frickmas blend is the holiday blend, and the dark roast is our standard flavor, but brewed roasted dark. And then we do have the light roast. You can order one of each, and the shipping stays the same. And that's the rainbow, right? What level? Better communication of what's included, not what title, what level. Right, but again, like, I'm thinking as a YouTuber that puts on a show every day, and you don't tell people everything, because then they won't show up. Like, if you told people, tomorrow's State of Play, we're going to showcase a bunch of indie titles, what do you think would happen to the viewership? It would not be the same. It would plummet. It wouldn't be as good. That's part of the game, man. You gotta leave mystery. You don't tell people ahead of time. The difference being Sony spotlights new games. Nintendo is always, check it out, 20-year-old games you can play, you can pay for again. They had a showcase like this in August and called it what it is, and no one was upset because there was different expectations. But is people being upset a problem? Is it? The people that are upset wouldn't have watched it if you told them ahead of time it was going to be an indie showcase. So hang with me here. From a marketing standpoint, from a revenue-generating standpoint, those people wouldn't have watched if you told them ahead of time that it was a bunch of indie games. So them being upset after the fact doesn't really matter because they weren't going to probably buy the games to begin with. They weren't going to buy them, okay? But they helped feed the algorithm. They helped feed the numbers. They helped get the video seen. Do you see? Like, you tell us in Discord what you're talking about tomorrow. Very generically, Sven. Very generically. Right? Think of it from this angle, Sven. I do tell you, hey, tomorrow we're talking about the server transfer update in New World, right? And then I put up a thumbnail, put up a title, and do all of that. Now, I don't put my entire script inside the description or the Discord. I give you basically a banner of like, here's what we're talking about, okay? Now, I have to do that, because if I don't do that, you're going to be like, what are we talking about tomorrow? And then there is no mystery gap. There is no provocation for you to show up. You're like, well, I don't know. What's he talking about? So you have to know within a reasonable amount of like what I'm talking about. Now, for Sony State of Play, it's an established show. Does that make sense? Like, Jimmy Fallon doesn't need to give you the rundown on like what he's going to do on his show. Here's the game I'm going to play. Here's the topics of my jokes. You know the guests, and you know that Jimmy Fallon's going live. Like, that's it. So with State of Play, it's an established show. It's like, it's going to be a show. We're going to talk about games. We're going to show you some games. Like, that's it. That's all you need to know. And then that makes people show up. I'm telling you right now, they would have crushed and killed their engagement if they said, oh, it's an indie. It's going to be a bunch of indie games. Then nobody watches, like less people watch. We don't hype something for a month about how it's an event and then go live for 7 minutes about how we're going to play New World tomorrow. How did they hype this up? Where did they hype it? It's a monthly show. Where did they hype it? I'm just curious. What did they do? Did they say, we're going to blow your mind, you're not going to believe what we have to show you, it's unprecedented, stuff you've done? Like, I don't know. Where is the hype coming from? They announced it Friday? Right, they announced it Friday. They announced it 6 days ago. Not even 6 days ago, I'm sorry, because today is Thursday. They announced it 5 days before it happened. There wasn't a lot of marketing. Yeah, that's my point. Like, I don't know. If I'm a Sony fan, I have a PlayStation 5, and I absolutely adore Sony games. I do. I'm not a fanboy, but my gosh, I am so pleased with the Sony games I've played, and I'm very pleased with my PlayStation 5. You know, extremely, extremely pleased. They announced it at the last State of Play. So at the last State of Play, which is a monthly show, they said we're going to do one in October. Like, come on. It's a monthly show. Tune in next time. How dare they hype you up, creature? How dare they tell you to tune in next time? What a manipulative company. What just absolute unadulterated manipulation of the audience. Tune in next time. The gall, the nerve of Sony telling you that they're going to do another show next month. My issue is the name, the expectation that comes with it. But, okay, so Eugene, because they've named it State of Play, you think every 30 days they have big news to announce? You've been in this industry as far as like hanging out in streams and covering pressers and announcements and trailers probably as long as I have as a participant, okay? You don't create content, but you're a participant. Every 30 days, they're going to have big announcements? That's how? How is that even possible? Like, I'm genuinely confused right now. If Microsoft said, we're going to do a Microsoft State of Play every month, there would be months where they would just be announcing like pretty rinky-dink little indies hitting Game Pass. They wouldn't have big announcements every 30 days. That doesn't seem tenable. I think when you name it that, you set the expectation and you ask for the response you're getting. I think there's so much projection going on. You're wrong, it's not every month. What do you mean? It's every month. It's quarterly? Didn't they just do one last month? It's not monthly. I thought we've been covering these on almost like a monthly basis. State of Play is the most low-key description of a show. Like, State of Play, like, State of the Game. I guess, what are you thinking? State of the Union address? I think, when I read State of Play, I think of State of the Game. Like, here's where we are right now. Here's what's going on. Like, almost like a news update. Like, welcome back to Sony State of Play. This month, we've got XYZ on PlayStation Plus. Like, that's what I envision. It's not. It's like every 3 to 4 months. Why'd they do them so close together then? That's what I'm curious about. Sony State of Play, how often? State of Play is Sony's regularly scheduled show broadcast live intermittently throughout the year. Each one focuses on different things, sometimes PS5 and PS4 exclusives, other times third-party titles, and occasionally just one single game. So, it's not monthly. I thought it was monthly. Okay. But it's intermittent according to this. It's not quarterly either. Quarterly, they wouldn't have done the show. And quarterly, they would say that. They'd be like, yeah, it's a quarterly show. Now, if it was a quarterly show, I would tend to agree with what some of you guys are saying. Making people wait an entire quarter and being like, yeah, here's just a bunch of indies. I'd be like, man, you guys should have saved something in your pocket, even if it was just the Wolverine trailer, right? Now, some of this stuff is probably negotiated in the background. You know what I'm saying? Like Marvel and Insomniac were probably like, no, we want to be a part of the big one. We don't want to be used for hype on a smaller show. So some of that could be why. The developers and the publishers themselves could be saying, listen, we don't want to be a part of some small little indie showing. And they're like, well, we got to have an indie showing. We have all these things. Part of our deals and contracts with these companies was to do a State of Play and showcase their trailer. We agreed to this allotment of time, and this is where it would land in the show. Like, I don't know. Like, to me, it would be like, it might not even be possible to use the big titles because the big titles don't want to be used in that way. You know what I mean? It's not monthly, it's very random. As for why people were disappointed, it comes down to expectations. We are always hoping for the next big surprise game. After last State of Play, I did not expect anything big. they came out swinging with hammers in the last one. It was like God of War Ragnarok with gameplay. We saw Mew Mew. We saw Thor's hammer. And then Spider-Man 2. And then Wolverine. Like, it was huge. It was insane. Everybody's mind was blown. I didn't expect anything this time. I thought, I don't know, they'll probably announce some PS Plus stuff. Or, you know, I'd fully support them willfully trolling, hype up a huge commercial, and just have 20 minutes of the next FIFA patch. And just have somebody reading in like a dimly lit room, you know? Like, what was that? It was like some janitor reading FIFA patch notes in a dimly lit closet. I don't understand. This was the most disappointing state of play ever. If they just listed it as the next state of play, we will have an indie showcase or spotlight, I'd be fine with that. There's still mystery as to what games will be there. Yeah, but in my mind, Vinny, you're not wrong, but you're also not right. From a marketing standpoint, they know if they say that, viewership goes down. So now, what's happening? Think with me here. Track with me. Everybody's angry, and everybody's talking about a state of play. It's getting more press and more coverage, significantly more than if they would have been like, yeah, the next one, we hope you liked Thor's hammer. The next one's going to be a bunch of indie games. Viewership would have been cut in half. Nobody be freaking talking about it. We wouldn't be talking about it. I mean, we might have talked about it if I felt like it was worth covering. I thought we're going to cover this because people are getting all wound up and angry about it. Like, and then all the the blogs. Like, what was that? Why did they even do that? What a dud! What a flop! They're getting more coverage. Now people feel misled. Misled how? They said, we're going to do a Sony State of Play. And they did one. Wouldn't they also know that they'd reached their target instead of a bunch of Ritalin-soaked Mountain Dew snorting idiots trolling them? But those kids are power on the internet. Hate is engagement. Right? Angry-vertising. It's too bare. It's angry-vertising. Right? 20 minutes on why Spider-Man still isn't playable in Avengers. Right. September wasn't a state of play. It was a full-blown showcase. August was an indie show. Well, now you know that state of play exists on a bit of a spectrum. Does it not? I mean, they named it, and your expectations were driven by the name, but now, as opposed to having your expectations being set by the name, let your expectations be set by reality. Be like, next state of play, it could be a banger or it could be a dud. Like, you know what I'm saying? It could be up, it could be down. Can't believe people are pressed about this. Actually, yes, I can. Yeah, of course you can. July was the last state of play with Deathloop being the primary game. Yeah. I mean, to be fair, Eugene, if we ignore the big one, the one in September, they've all been kind of hit or miss in my mind. Do you understand? I feel like they've all been hit or miss. If anything, if you ignore September, this isn't that below the mark. It's like, well, yeah, we showed you some games. Like, chill the frick out. Like, well, they showed you a bunch of Deathloop. I remember people complaining about that. They're like, this is supposed to be a state of play, and it was just all Deathloop, right? There's clearly a gamut here. There's a spectrum of where the state of play can land, and you know, this one landed on the low end. You know, there was one that, like we said, it was just what I think it was it 16 minutes of Deathloop. That was like the bulk of the showcase the one time. It was like that was all it was. And I remember people being annoyed and disappointed by that. Because if you're not interested in Deathloop, you're like, this is just a Deathloop commercial. If E3 became a monthly show, your expectations would automatically be altered? Of course. The rhythm of it would dictate how often they would have big ones. Like there's no way this is going to be the same. It's just not possible, right? It just isn't. It isn't possible. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Just give me Myth Wukong. Yeah, I know, man. When's the launch date on Wukong, dude? Sony rarely hypes state of play. Even for this last one, all they did was post on Facebook on their Facebook, 30 minutes of third-party games and an in-depth look at Devil Inside. They told you what to expect. So, yeah, I mean, if they told people it's going to be third-party games, then, I don't know. I would expect them to be lower key. You know what I mean? It's all Deathloop. Where's my indie coverage? Based on live chat during State of Play, people's expectation was Bloodborne 2, Last of Us 3, Bloodborne Next Patch, God of War Ragnarok Part 2, Horizon Forbidden West DLC. I don't know, man. If that's what people wanted. And E3 is at its best when they have B-Squad celebrities acting like they're excited for a game. Welcome back to E3. I'm your host, Seth Green, and I can't wait to interview this next person about, what's it called? Barbie Dreamhouse Adventures. The Coca Cabana DLC. Tell me, what am I going to experience in this game?
Well, you see, in this DLC, Barbie is now taking a vacation.
What sort of adventures am I going to be doing? They posted on Facebook, my bad, I didn't ask my grandmother what was in State of Play. Well, what did they say on their official channels? Well, what did they say? What did they say on, let's see. Let's see what they said on the Twitter. On Twitter. What are they, how'd they couch this? You know? Let's see. Let us see. This is the State of Play, blah, blah, blah. Where's like an official announcement about it beforehand on their Twitter? Do you know what I'm saying? I see where they said, hey, we're live now, but I'm curious. Where did they say, hey, it's coming? I'm curious what they described it as. Returnal 2.0. Call of Duty stuff. I'm trying to find an official PlayStation Twitter announcement about State of Play. That's what I'm trying to do. When did they announce it on their Twitter? Somebody said it was on like Friday, so I got to go back to the 22nd. I forgot to play that game, Jet the Far Shore. Is it out? I thought that looked pretty cool. Let us see. Headset commercial. All right, here's the 22nd. A new State of Play is heading. Oh, here we go. I can feel it. I can smell it. Somebody's cooking up crow for people to eat. Here's a tweet on October the 22nd. A new State of Play is heading your way next Wednesday, starting at this time. Full details and what to expect. Let me click the link. Full details and what to expect. Let's see what they stated here. All right, here we go. Let's see. This time out, we'll be focusing on announcement updates for upcoming third-party releases headed to PS5 and PS4. The show is looking to be 20 minutes or so, and we'll share new looks at previously announced game, plus a few reveals from our partners around the world. See you Wednesday. If you think that's hyping up State of Play, I don't know what on earth. That sounds exactly like what we got. A tweet that says, for full details and what to expect. And it's like 3 sentences. And it doesn't sound exciting. 20 minutes of stuff you've already seen and, you know, a couple of reveals from our partners around the world. They're not like unprecedented first look reveals and brand new titles. You're gonna cream in your where did it say indie titles? It said they're third-party partners around the world. Like, it didn't say anything other than that. Did it say indie? Were they all indie, though? Were they all indie? Square Enix was in there. That's not indie. Death's Door was indie. Who's making the Divine Force JRPG? That's Square Enix, isn't it? First Class Trouble, the Kart Rider, Death's Door, Bugsnax. Bugsnax isn't indie, is it? Bugsnax is pretty big, isn't it? Yeah, they were not all indie. It was primarily an indie showcase, but Square Enix and whoever makes Bugsnax, I don't think they're considered indie. But they didn't say indie. Give me a break. That blog, you're right, Sven. It is so generic. Who would read that super generic blog and be like, dude, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be 20 minutes of eye-bleeding hype. Come on, man. Come on. Oh, is Bugsnax an indie? I thought that was like a super popular game, like really big company. Young Horses. Oh, no, it is. It's an indie game studio, Young Horses. I stand corrected on Bugsnax. I actually thought that Bugsnax was like a pretty big, super popular game. I thought there was a pretty big dev behind it. I stand corrected there. So Square Enix is basically it. Nothing else. I don't think any of the other developers that showed up were of a sizable nature. So, you know, I'll give you credit there that yes, it was dominated by indies. They didn't say indies. They said our partners around the world. Like, I don't know. I wasn't expecting a banger show like the previous one with Wolverine and God of War. You can't tell me we should have been expecting indies the entire show. Well, no, I'm not saying that what you should have expected. Oh, yeah, you should have expected indies. I'm saying that blog, we have a 20-minute show of previously announced titles and some new reveals from our partners around the world. Like, I don't know. I read that and I'd be like, this is going to be a pretty low-key show. This is going to be pretty basic. There's nothing here, you know. The announcement gave me such a huge boner. I'm more disappointed than I was on prom night. The state of play could have just been a tweet. It didn't need a show. Oh, come on, man. These indie titles deserve some airtime, man. I don't know. I feel for these little guys. It's good for them to get some showing out there. You know? Come on. Death's Door. Good for those guys. A two-man team. Their two-man team game sold over 100,000 copies in the first week that it launched, and it's landing on PlayStation. That's awesome. I don't know. I got really excited when I saw that. I was expecting some movement on Horizon Forbidden West and God of War again, even if it was 20 seconds. Yeah, again, you know, who knows? The developers on those projects might not want to do that. They might have their own marketing plan. You know, Guerrilla could have their own marketing plan. They may have some planned reveals. Maybe they want to show off some of Aloy's, you know, new movesets or whatever, but maybe they want to do that in January. Maybe they want to do it closer to the launch of the game. Maybe early February there'll be a state of play to really boost Horizon Forbidden West sales. You know, doing it now might not serve the purpose. A lot of these companies do that. They like take the shot across the bow, boom, trailer. A couple months later, boom, here's some more details. And then they kind of go silent for a while, and then real close to when there's going to be that swell of pre-orders and purchases, they hit you with something else. Like, I don't know. A lot of these companies might not want to be, like, out there telling you anything right now. Why? Because what's right around the corner? The holiday season's right around the corner, and these companies are going to be like, yeah, check out our game that you can't get until February or who knows when. God of War, we don't even know when it's coming out. Right before the holidays, what do they announce? Death's Door, November 23rd. The First Class Trouble, November the 2nd. Were there launch dates for anything else? The Isle of Bigsnax for Bugsnax might be right around the corner. That one was free, though. I don't know when Little Devil Inside's coming out. But they did, at least some of them, they tried to announce stuff that would be coming out around the corner that's actually buyable. Like, you can purchase it. You know what I mean? We all know now, if we want good current info, go to Facebook. Or, I don't know, the official Twitter account and the blog that said, for full event details and expectations, click here. And I did. And it was 3 sentences. It was the most bland thing I've ever read. Is this what it feels like to be Eugene? I feel like Eugene right now. What, grumpy and unsatisfied? He doesn't even care. I mean, he knew it wasn't going to be good. He said ahead of time. I think Eugene said he expected one big announcement, I think is what he said. It's just the name. Oh no, I know. We have firmly established the strength of your argument is they named it State of Play, and that means anytime they do one, it's got to be amazing. You know, it needs to be like a presidential address. And I don't think that that's the case, because in the gaming world, State of typically lands before State of the Game. And a lot of State of the Game, you know, monthly or weekly podcast videos addresses are simply little updates, little touchstones with the company. State of Play, State of the Game. Like, I think in this environment, the name is totally fine. Based on history, not the name. There's been plenty of State of Plays that I don't think have been that crazy. Like I said, the one got a ton of complaints because it was pretty much only Deathloop. How is that State of Play for Sony? It's one game. It's a Microsoft title. I mean, how is that like setting your expectations? That this one should have been like miles different than it was. They got a lot of complaints about the Deathloop one, because if you're not interested in Deathloop, you're like, that's all this was. There were more small State of Plays. I think you meant to say, than large ones. You projected what you wanted State of Play to be. Yeah, I'm half tempted to go back and look at all of them. I don't feel like all of them were that crazy, right? State of Play, State of Indies, State of Holy Frick. Yeah, that'll do. I mean, they could decide to say, well, we'll do a State of Indies, but how often are they going to do Indies? Like, one of the things that might have been a challenge for them right now is maybe they don't have a steady flow of indies. So, like, they can't have a show just for indies, because it would happen, like, what, once in a blue moon? You know what I mean? The same one was Lost Judgment, Fist, DSDC, and, like, 3 other big ones. I posted that Deathloop one. Okay, so before the Deathloop one, what have they been doing on these State of Plays? Because we weren't covering them early this year. We were, prior to us going to Variety, we were not covering these. Because obviously the one last time was just insane. The one last time shouldn't even been called State of Play. It should have been called something else. It was nuts. It was like a Sony showcase, is what it felt like to me. Like a Sony conference showcase. Says, I haven't seen Mo. Let me just add that Microsoft would have done this better. I could go for a cold blue moon right about now. That's right. There have been multiple State of Plays with smaller games. The last one wasn't called State of Play? Yeah, it was. Yeah, I watched it and we covered it the next day. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. PlayStation never reveals major news before developers of AAA titles. I feel like they allow the devs to make their own big announcements first, and then they follow up after with an interview. State of Indies, next time could be a thing that we're all raving about. I don't know. I don't think they want you to know what's going to be in the showcase. I don't. I think they were vague on purpose. You know what I mean? Last one was a PlayStation showcase. So the last one wasn't even State of Play, so it sounds like maybe some of your guys' arguments are just continuing to probably fall flat here. It's the PlayStation channel, right? PlayStation channel is where they do all this. All right, let me go. Let's go here and let's take a peek here. Okay, so they've got uploads, they got Ghost of Tsushima, features and benefits, PlayStation Underground. Let's go to the videos and just see if we can't figure this out. So the last one that we're talking about, they've uploaded a lot. Holy frick. Did they legit not call it State of Play last time? I swear they did, because we covered it the next day, and that's what I called my stream. It was Sony State of Play recap or whatever the frick. 3 weeks ago, blah, blah, blah. So here's all the trailers that hit after the fact. Let's see. Welcoming Blue Point Games to the PlayStation family. Oh, yes. So we basically need to go back to where it was God of War and Wolverine and all that. And once I see that, I'll be close, I'm assuming. 1 month ago. No. Look at past live streams. Yeah, it was called PlayStation Showcase, I think. Yeah. You guys have been concluding things. It was a 42-minute PlayStation Showcase. Yeah, it opened up with Star Wars, and then yeah, and then they yep, and then God of War Ragnarok. Yep. PlayStation Showcase. It wasn't State of Play. So you guys were thinking that like that was a State of Play and like, oh, this is what. No, it was a showcase. I was going to say that should have had a different name. That was like a showcase. I just said that 2 minutes ago. You've been trying? Okay, then I want to see, hang on. I want to see what the rhythm here is, what the pattern here is. Hang on a second. Uploads, past live streams. Here we go. They actually do quite a bit of they did an NBA. They did Lost Tower. They stream pretty regularly on this channel. Okay, July they did a State of Play, and it was it was 31 minutes. Exciting indie, 20 minutes of updates of indies and exciting third-party games with the extended Deathloop gameplay. So what this had, like this thing kicked off with Moss, and then they showed Arcadegeddon, and then they showed what's that freaking game? Tribes of Midgard. Okay, so indie. These are indies, man. New State of Play shows Ratchet and Clank. I'm just showing you that, like, I don't think the expectations that it's going to be a banger every time. I don't think it makes any sense. I'm looking at a State of Play that, in its description, outside of the 9 minutes of extended Deathloop gameplay plus 20 minutes of updates on indies and exciting third-party games. This showcase will not include updates on the VR hardware, nor Horizon Forbidden West or the next God of War. Stay tuned throughout the summer. I don't know. It's not a banger. They should just sit down and shut up. That's my point. So where did this expectation come from? That Jet, another indie. Yeah, the showcase in July was nothing but indies. Oh wait, no. Hang on, no. There, Lost Judgment. Okay, Lost Judgment, and the Death Stranding director's cut. Okay, and then there's all the Deathloop stuff. Okay, come on. Death Stranding director's cut is a director's cut. So that's a DLC announcement for a big game. So they don't have any control over that. If big games aren't doing DLC, what the frick is Sony supposed to do? Okay? And then Lost Judgment. So I'll give you Lost Judgment. But the entire rest of that showcase was indies. And then they're like, yeah, and here's Deathloop. That's my point. Like, I don't know where this expectation's coming from. I don't know where it's coming from. That is almost there's a very, very similar show outside of one big name. Outside of one big name. I was confused also. I've seen way worse State of Plays. That's my point. Like, I don't think that there's been a consistent one. What about the one in April? What'd they do in April? Let's see. April says, feast your eyes on more than 15 minutes of the new Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, plus a quick look at upcoming indie titles. Do you see? Like, well, come on. So Ratchet & Clank, yay, Rift Apart, woo, throw glitter in the air, amazing game. April, State of Play, was Ratchet & Clank, and then a quick look at a pair of upcoming indie titles. It's a 22-minute video, 15 minutes of it's Ratchet & Clank. 15 minutes of it's Ratchet & Clank. So it's basically a Ratchet & Clank. It's a Ratchet & Clank, like, focus. And then they're like, here's some indies. Do you see what I mean? Like, I don't know where these expectations are coming from about State of Play. These are so random and so different. You've got one that's Deathloop and then Lost Judgment, basically. Rest were indies. And then April was Ratchet, and the rest were indies. So the only thing that was missing from this was a mainstay title. Did they have anything first party they could talk about, like the DLC for Death Stranding or something like Lost Judgment? Well, apparently they didn't. So they were like, here's indies. You see what I'm saying? That's what I mean. I'm going back and looking at these State of Plays, and I'm telling you right now, these expectations about, well, that's called State of Play. Then were you saying this when it was mostly indies back then? The gaming community is so susceptible to trolling, they should just do it on purpose. Right? Yeah, just troll people. State of Play. And then just literally have, two people in costumes dressed up as states, like Oklahoma and Colorado are playing a board game together. This is it. State of Play. Hey, somebody ordered some coffee. Digita Comment ordered some Frickmas blend. Thank you guys so much. Thank you so much for ordering some coffee. That's 2 for the day. Be sure to get those orders in. We like to get about 3 orders a day. That's what my wife asks for. Have you talked about the double life staff exploit going on in New World? You can quick swap between 2 life staffs and light attack like a machine gun. I've not seen that. No. Keep focusing on the actual words in the name. Yeah, like that's all the video would be about. State of Play. Like, you told us that our name was really important. So in this State of Play, State of Play. Problem is, just this year we complained about lack of indies and lack of variety. Well, that's what I mean. Like, I understand State of Play for you might carry a lot of weight. For me, it doesn't, because like I said, I envision it being more like, and that's why I was confused and thought it was monthly. Do you see what the difference of perception can be? My perception was, oh, it's like State of the Game. It's something they do every month. They probably update us on PlayStation Plus and titles coming to PlayStation Plus and blah, 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 blah. So my perception is completely different than yours, and it's based on the same name. State of Play, State of the Game. I'm thinking, oh, Sony does a State of Play once a month to keep the community up to date on everything going on. You're thinking State of the Union address, like State of Play. It's going to be like this showcase. We're reading the same name and coming to completely different conclusions, which means you can't really fault them or the name, because it can be read in 2 different ways. That's why I said, isn't it monthly? I literally was confused for that reason. I thought it was a monthly showing, and I thought we avoided covering it because most of the time it was pretty ho-hum, and we missed out on the last one. Like, Creature and I were on the phone during the last one, and I was like, we haven't been covering these because they haven't been that great, and look at what they're doing. They're freaking going nuts. Well, it was a showcase. Again, I was confused. I was thinking it was exactly the same as the State of Play things that they had been doing, because in my mind, I'm covering 85 different stories in a given week, and so my head spun off my shoulders, and I didn't even realize that the showcase was different than State of Play. So, in today's State of Play, 13.8 million PS5s have been sold, and only 25% are registered and being used. I did see that, the 13.8 million sales, and I was curious. I was like, I wonder how many are in the hands of scalpers. Like, I would bet 11 million are in circulation, and probably 1 or 2 million are not. I recognize that Sony typically distinguishes between State of Play and an indie showcase. Wait, so they've done that before? Because I just looked at a couple that were mostly indie. I just looked at 2 showcases that were 90% indie. So I was like, I don't understand. When have they done indie showcases? Lono's going to have to write a Lono level YouTube description for the next State of Play. Not everybody has PlayStation Plus. That's why they're not registered. The one with God of War Ragnarok was a substitute for E3. Yeah, and they called it Showcase. I just completely missed that. August was an indie showcase. So they did an indie showcase in August. Okay. They did say it will be about third-party games before it aired. Right. I mean, that's what I said. That was one of the things I tried to highlight, Loot. Like, I went and read the thing. I was like, here's the full details. I don't know why anybody was getting super pumped. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, there was one in April that was Ratchet and Clank and then a bunch of indies. And then there was another one that was Deathloop and a bunch of indies. I'm sorry, Lost Judgment was in there too. I don't really count Death Stranding Director's Cut because they don't have any control over first-party titles doing DLC. Like, that's not something they can, like, force. You know what I'm saying? So when this one gets announced and they're like, yeah, it's going to be about 20 minutes, which is shorter than some of the other ones that we looked at. The other ones were like 22 to 35. It's going to be approximately 20 minutes and previously announced titles and some reveals from our partners around the world. I don't know. Like, that to me doesn't... I think people are... I don't know. I think people are wishing more than... Death Stranding isn't first party? What? How is it not first party? They're the publisher. Don't they like... they bought and they own Kojima. What are you talking about? Didn't they publish that game? Who published Death Stranding? Death Stranding, I thought when all that happened, and Kojima basically got, like, bought by Sony. Developer, platforms... Who published it? It was released by Sony Interactive Entertainment for the PlayStation 4. I can't see who the publisher is on this wiki. They don't own Kojima. But they don't own Kojima. They funded the project, did they not? They basically set him up, and they told him, we're paying for your next project under Kojima Productions. I swear it's basically their game. Death Stranding publisher. Death Stranding publishers are Sony Interactive Entertainment, PlayStation Studios, and 505 Games. How is 505 Games involved? That doesn't make any sense. 505, did 505 help with the PC version? Kojima Productions is PlayStation. They don't own him, but they do own rights to the game. I don't understand how it's not first party if they published it. 505 took care of it on PC. But Death Stranding was published and paid for by PlayStation. How is that not a first party title? Do they have to, in your mind, do they have to own the developer for it to be a first party title? In my mind, if they publish it, it's first party. Like, they paid for it. It's their game. 505 published the PC release. If they don't own the studio, it isn't first party. So the terminology breaks down for me because I always considered a first party title one that was paid for by the platform. Like, they paid for it. It's first party. They won it. They got the exclusivity. It's theirs. Developer ownership is the key. So I've probably been using the terminology wrong then. Because in my mind, when I think first party, if I'm thinking erroneously, that's fine. But this is how I've always thought about it. In my mind, if you're publishing the game, that's it. It's a first party title. That's considered second party. I don't know. I've never even heard anybody use second party. I always hear first and third. It's always first or third party. That's usually the terms I'm seeing used. I've never heard anybody say second party. Second party is Insomniac when they weren't owned by Sony. So you would say that it was a second party title, meaning paid for by Sony, exclusive to the Sony platform, but Sony doesn't own Insomniac. Well, they do now, don't they? That's why you don't understand that Deathloop is a Microsoft game and game of the year. So when they say third-party partners, right, third-party partners, like, that shouldn't be that exciting, right? It's not any of their big ones. When I say, like, knowing what you guys just outlined for me now, if I see third-party for Sony, I'm expecting it to be pretty low-key. First party is developed and published. Yeah. Whenever I was thinking first party, I was thinking in the realm of if they paid for it and it's on their platform, that's a first party title. You're going to buy that box and play that game only there, right? Ownership never entered my mind. I was thinking purely from the realm of like, who paid for it and where can I play it? I was thinking in that realm. It being a terminology associated with ownership was just not ever in my brain. Second party twice removed. Some third party stuff's really good. Well, I mean, if you're a fan of JRPGs, the Square Enix game might be right up your alley. Like that, you know, we have to remember that the Sony audience is not just a Western audience. So that Square Enix announcement could have been, we don't know, that could have been huge. I don't know, that could have been the big one. Square Enix announcing a JRPG, you know, as the Asian audience watches that could have been the banger. It's not a banger for us. We're in the West. We don't play JRPGs at a saturation level that the Asian market does. This just in. Sony State of Play determines that gamers are entitled babies. It wasn't huge. Star Ocean hasn't been good for a long time. Oh, so it's not a popular JRPG? I mean, I was speculating. I don't know. I mean, you guys know me. I don't play them. That game is a pretty long-standing franchise. People were excited. Final Fantasy would have been huge. Well, I mean, that's like saying, you know, if Godzilla walked around downtown, it would be huge. Of course, a Final Fantasy announcement would have been huge. It's Final Fantasy. Probably, the biggest JRPG franchise in existence is Final Fantasy, I would think. The last few were flops. I've got it. There it is. Man. Had like a hair. That's the worst. Sony acquired Housemarque. Yeah, Housemarque won best game somewhere. I saw somebody put it in the Discord. I was like, it's starting. Let's go. Come on, Returnal, game of the year. Say it with me, game of the year, Returnal. Let's go. Final Fantasy would have gotten its own state of play. Probably, yeah. If there was a Final Fantasy announcement, they would have given it the same treatment that Deathloop got, I would imagine. Maybe Ratchet. The last few Star Oceans have been bad, like really bad. Okay. Well, it's possible that they just base it off of dev and franchise history. They were like, you're going to be our biggest guy on the block, Square Enix was late. They were late in the show. They were second to last. Returnal ain't winning game of the year. Come on, it's a contender. It's a contender, okay? It's probably going to lose to Ratchet, but come on, man. Returnal's a contender. Frick, it's such a good game. We got to get back in. We got to go back, Kate. We got to go back because we got to finish it. We got to see the cutscenes. I want to mess around with the photo mode. Returnal or Metroid for you? Metroid, really? I don't think Metroid stands a chance. It might not even get nominated because the reviews are too mixed. The reviews aren't bad, but they're mixed, They're very, very mixed. Returnal will be game of the year. I hope Returnal gets a nice, strong nod for being a new IP because Ratchet and Clank has got a big advantage being an existing IP. You know what I mean? Didn't Returnal just win a decent award? They won best game at something. I don't know what it was, but yeah. It's a solid contender because Insomniac needed recognition for their phenomenal run. I don't understand. I'm not connecting. That sentence isn't making sense to me. If you guys are just tuning in and enjoying the show, do me a favor, hit subscribe, hit the bell button, hit the like button, give us our first 200 likes. We do a talk show like this Monday through Fridays. We still have New World coverage for you. Our second show today will be about New World with some New World gameplay. We will be diving into Guardians of the Galaxy. And the Say No to Rage story will continue today on SNTR Presents, followed by a live AMA. Now, today's live AMA is going to have to be a little bit shorter because I have a call with YouTube at 4:30. So we're going to be just giving you like one solid hour of AMA today after today's episode. Returnal won Game of the Year at a developer award thing. Okay. I feel like Deathloop has been more praised than Returnal. That is a complete and utter joke to me. It's a joke that Deathloop got the praise that it did. 9s out of 10s and what the frick? No. Deathloop is a solid 7 at best. At best, it's a solid 7. It's not a freaking 9 out of 10. There is so much sloppy nonsense in that game. I don't know how it got 9s out of 10s. Give me a freaking break. Great game. Great voice acting. Amazing art direction. Cool idea. But it's not a freaking 9 out of 10. Are you kidding me? 9? How many games get 9 out of 10? How many? That game's not a 9 out of 10. It's another sloppy arcane game. Beautiful, cool, creative, dope, but it's a sloppy arcane game, dude. IGN gave it a 10 out of 10. I don't know how. I really, really don't. It blows my mind that it got above an 8 by anybody. It really, really does. It blows my mind that it got above an 8 by anybody. I think it's a 9. Shut up, Wheezy. Who backed them and published it? I don't know. I mean, I say that with a Deathloop display back there. That's because they want parity with PlayStation games, so people hyped it up. That's why they gave it such high scores. I don't know. Deathloop is weak compared to Returnal. Even Far Cry 6 is better. I can't compare Deathloop to Far Cry 6. But if I'm comparing Deathloop to Returnal, it gets obliterated by Returnal. Gameplay, significantly better and more polished in Returnal. Sound design, get the frick out of here. Music, original score, story, art design. Get out of here. It doesn't even get on the fricking playing field. Deathloop's in the dugout, and Returnal is hitting a grand slam. Like, Deathloop's not even on base in this competition. They're not even in the same category. Get the frick out of here. Returnal is a dadgum work of art. An innovative, insanely aspirational work of art. And Deathloop is not, right? Art design is subjective. Do I have to say that every time I'm giving my opinion? Do we need to, like, flash that across the bottom of the screen? Come on. There are objective and glaring flaws in Deathloop's gameplay. That's not subjective to the art. Now, if you want to talk about art direction, I think they both get crazy high marks. But there are glaring flaws in the way that Deathloop plays. It's got problems. I had weird bugs and glitches. The AI was super inconsistent. AI goes from being brain dead to being aimbots. Like, no, absolutely not. Like, that's not subjective. There's traceable, trackable flaws in Deathloop. But sure, if you want to talk about, like, the art, the way it looks and sounds, I mean, we could probably have a sound engineer talk about why the sound design of Returnal is so insanely good. I don't know if they would say the same thing about Deathloop. Again, not from a subjective standpoint, from an objective measurement of, like, sound depth and substance and clarity. Returnal is in its own category. Did Leo deserve the Oscar he got for that role? No, but he deserved it for the body of work. I'll be upset if Ratchet doesn't win, because Insomniac has had a legendary run over the past 5 years, and they need the cherry on top. I mean, I get where you're coming from based on principle. I'm not going based off principle. I'm going based off of the courage and the aspiration and the creativity that went into Returnal. That's what I'm basing mine off of. I'm basing mine off of that. Returnal is in its own category of game this year. There's almost nothing that and I don't do that very often. Like, I don't give away like that kind of praise to games very often. And the fact that it's a rogue, I think, should say something here. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. Games like that and Hellblade, they don't get praise haphazardly from me. So, I don't know. Come from someone who's naturally good at art and loves various forms of art, Returnal is much higher done than Deathloop, with areas, glows, themes, lighting, ambience. Well, but that's a difference in style. I don't want. That's the challenge. You get down into stylization differences, and it's going to be like, is the cinematography in, Revenant better than the cinematography in, what was that recent war movie that came out? I mean, how do you measure? There's different design and style choices, different color palettes that they decide to use. Just look at the photos coming out of Returnal. Yeah, but that I don't know. It would be like comparing Borderlands to a photorealistic game. It's different art direction. It's different art direction. If we apply that argument, then Spidey should have beat God of War. Dude, I don't know, dude. I don't know. God of War was a masterpiece from beginning to end. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Spidey was good, but I think God of War beats it. I played them both, beginning to end. I checked every box in Spidey. I played virtually every area in God of War, and I don't think Spidey beats God of War. I don't think so. God of War was just such an excellent continuation of that franchise. It evolved the franchise in such a good way. I don't know. They came out the same year? I think they did. I played them very close together because that's when I realized that 30 FPS games gave me headaches. The photo mode in Returnal, we can see better the enemies and how they look. I asked this yesterday and I might have missed the answer. Can you do photo mode in the boss fights? Is that allowed? Because that's essentially pausing the game, which right now... Can you pause the game? You can pause the game, right? There's your menu that you can't go into whenever you want, but there's a pause, isn't there? So like, I gotta go to the bathroom. Somebody's at the door. Like, you can pause the game. If we apply your standard, it has the edge because it was the new IP. Yeah. Even with the edge that I give it, I don't think it scores higher. You can do it in boss fights. Okay, cool. Okay, even if I grant Spidey an edge because it was a new IP, I still don't think it beats God of War. You need to see Lono take on the Valkyries. We need to see Lono take on the Valkyries when God of War hits PC. Yeah, there's some series content that we'd like to do. It's just finding time to do it. I would like to go through and play all of Ghost of Tsushima, or at least all of the duels on Lethal. I think that would be such fun content. So, that's a dope shirt. Hey, thank you. This is an all-over, by the way. It's an all-over print. The back is different than the front. So, use that shirt command if you like this shirt. It comes from the DC collection over there at 80s Tees. God of War was a generational game. Yeah, I just think the gamut of difference from the past God of Wars to the new one, it deserved to be considered almost like a reinstitution of it. It was almost like a resuscitation of the IP. It was like, this is completely different. It was a quasi new IP. It was building on an established franchise, but my gosh, was it completely different in so many ways. Can't wait for my Ghost gameplay. Oh, that's right. Ratchet's been requesting that as a high-paying member. We got to find a slot for that. I want to finish Ghost of Ikishima. You need to play Legends on Ghost. I played it a couple of times. It's pretty good. It's pretty fun. I agree with excessive profanity about God of War, so that's my bias. Yeah, Cody didn't like it, right? He didn't like it. I thought he was going to hate Hellblade because of the simplistic combat, but he ended up loving Hellblade, which surprised the frick out of me. People will be talking about him playing God of War 2018 20 years from now. Right. I would have liked it more if it was a new IP. God of War was legendary. Games rarely ever come close to what it was. Yeah, just... There are so many layers to why that game is good. So many layers. Like, just the way they included the lore is absolutely brilliant. I don't know. Anytime I play that game, I enjoy myself. Like, even in small spurts, I'm like, this is just awesome, you know? Boy, read it. What does it say? You know, and he, like, goes on. He's like, you know, Mother said this and blah, blah, blah. You know, I don't know, the lead up, the setup, the way they used him and the way they revealed who he was at the end. And the head that you're carrying around, like his voice acting, the guys that work on your acts, their voice acting. I don't know. It is so stellar. It's just so stellar. There's no weak points. Like, try and find a weak point. Like, where's the weak points in that game? It's so amazing. Freaking World Serpent just the audio design for the World Serpent, the voice. I don't know. I can't find a weak spot. It's like everywhere you look in that game it's just excellence and greatness. Every single section of the game, you're like, it's all excellent. There's not a single weak spot in here. I have it, but never played it. Oh, golly. If you can hold off until you get a PlayStation 5, because, oh boy, is it a better experience when you get that 4K checkerboard and then you get the 60 frames per second, because it's beautiful. Like, every once in a while, I just want to watch when Baldur shows up. Daniel Faraday. Daniel Faraday from Lost. Oh man, he is so good. Baldur. What an achievement that guy pulled off, man. He's Oppum. He's Oppum in Saving Private Ryan. He's Daniel Faraday in Lost, and then he's Baldur in God of War. Like, that's I got respect for that range. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Yeah, they do a 4K checkerboard resolution, so it's not true 4K, but it looks real nice. Looks real crisp. It's a form of upscaling that they do, and then they give you a solid 60 frames per second. Like, it's rock solid on the PlayStation 5. Like, it looks and runs phenomenally well. They did a free update. There's a video on this channel if you want to see what it looks like. I streamed it when they pushed that update out. You can find it on this channel. Is Lost that show where they were dead the whole time? Shut up, babe. I got a PS5. Can't wait to play Ghost of Tsushima and God of War on it. Two of the greatest games ever made. You play them on PS5. Oh my word. That's like how it was meant to be played. Let's get the likes up. Yeah, smash the likes. We should have had 200 likes by now. We are slacking. We are slacking in the like department. Make sure and hit subscribe as well and the bell button. We will have a New World show today, so don't you worry. Hey, somebody ordered some coffee a little while ago. I forgot to call it out. 2 Frickmas blends to Eternal Darkness. Thank you so much for that Eternal Darkness, man. The Frickmas blend is super popular, and when it's gone, it's gone. So get your orders in, all right? We're not reordering it. You'll have to wait until next year. So there's still plenty in stock, by the way. Don't freak out or anything, but get your orders in. One overlooked thing in the new God of War equals single camera shot. Everything is told directly from the player's point of view, a single tracking shot for the entire game. I never realized that. That's a cool direction. That's a cool director decision that they made. I like when games are like super intentional about that kind of stuff, you know. There we go. There's 200 likes. Thank you. Shoot for 300 since we've been going kind of slow on the likes department. Every time you come in and you say good morning or chat or say something, even if you're a lurker, every time you smash like, it helps out the video. We greatly appreciate it. Live streaming on YouTube is pretty challenging, and you guys have been amazing with the consistent support. So get your orders in. We have too much coffee in our house. Hey, it makes the house smell good. You know, I got no complaints. I'm sure people are going to come over and be like, it smells like coffee in here. You guys making coffee? No, we just sell a lot of it. I've been smashing the dislike button. The algorithm favors conflict. Better for the channel. Hey, it's actually true. You can hit like or dislike. It doesn't matter to me. If you're talking and you're clicking buttons, YouTube's like, hey, something going on there. Something special there. So we appreciate it very, very much. Glad to see you still going strong. I appreciate it. Make sure you guys are still subscribed to our other channel, SNTR Presents. It will get the continuation of the Say No to Rage story today. It's going to be about when I was new to Twitch. That will go live at 3 p.m. Eastern. We will follow that with a live AMA. Be sure you guys are supporting those opinion videos. I did a video on why I think Twitch is an adult website. We did one on Dave Chappelle, and then we did on the future of YouTube streaming. we're clearly seeing that certain topics get a little bit more interaction from you guys than others. We're going to take that in consideration. I have a whole docket of topics that we want to cover, and we will obviously consider all of those various things whenever we are putting those videos together for you. So we appreciate you guys tuning in and supporting those. Lumu is an AI in Halo Infinite. Folks are speculating that the press are getting their hands on the campaign. Microsoft just released 2 new private Xbox games, Lumu Press Review and Lumia Press Review. Oh, so people are getting their hands on the campaign, huh? I just got a Nintendo Switch Lite. I can't wait to play Ghost of Papa Halo. What? You get to play Animal Crossing 64 Redux. Yeah. Animal Crossing, I to this day am a little confused by its popularity. Especially considering it feels like, especially the newest one, it just felt like it should have been playable with other people. And playable with other people, it's just a truly awful experience if you try and go co-op. And the load times in that game are so bad. It's like I don't understand it. I don't know. I don't get it at all. I think the trolls engage the channel thinking that they're hurting you, but they're hurting the content. Oh yeah, who cares? Actually, I don't play a lot of rogues. I really enjoy Hades though. Would you recommend Returnal? Okay, if you enjoyed Hades and you could play Hades, then I feel like you could enjoy Returnal. Here's the thing. Returnal is third-person, action-adventure style combat, but it's bullet hell. So you got to be able to get into a headspace of using her dodging and her movement and her iframes. Iframes are invincibility frames, like you're invincible for a certain number of frames. And if you can get into a headspace, I think Returnal is an absolute masterpiece. Homie, I don't like rogues, and I think Returnal's game of the year. I couldn't even get into Hades. I like Hades. I got, to like the second boss in Hades, and then I was like, I just don't like rogues. I don't like going back to the beginning. And I think Returnal's game of the year. You know what I mean? Yo, what's good, Agent Atwood? How are you? Fam's good. Thank you for asking. Animal Crossing is not appealing in the least. Don't get the hype. Preach, AC makes no sense. There's a level of it that does make sense. The cute, building your own little area and doing your own little thing, right? I get that. People like that kind of a game. They like that sense of investment. They like that sense of, cutesy pie sim world thing. But you can't play with other people, and the load times are atrocious. I mean, you can play with other people, but it doesn't do them any good to play with you. They're basically just walking around helping you in your world and not in their own. I got in a rogue mood, but Boss Cell 3 on Dead Cells just kind of pulled me out of it, along with the ending boss fights in Dead Gods. Oh, in Dead Cells. Yeah. Hades, I love how they give you a bit more control over your builds. If you're saying it's Game of the Year level, I feel I probably at least need to check it out. Yeah. And they just added the suspend feature, so, because a really, really good Returnal run can last for an hour to 2 hours, So that's tough, right? But they've added the suspend feature, so you can suspend where you were if you need to walk away, go to work, go to bed, whatever. It's dinner time, You didn't realize you were going to have a good run, and it's an hour and a half, and you're like, I got to go to dinner. You can suspend it now, which that's a really, really good reason to jump in and try, because I think that was a totally legitimate criticism of people being like, listen, Returnal gameplay is phenomenal, but I don't know how long the run's going to take. What am I supposed to do? It's an unknown, and not everybody can game in that way. I'll just sit down and play, and if it takes 1 hour or 5 hours, no worries. Not everybody can do that. Animal Crossing is monotonous casual gameplay, stress-free, and visual appealing to most. It's super casual friendly, and people love that. It's an easy, relaxing game with progression. Yeah, I think it's got that appeal. I mean, I'm not saying that it's not a good game. I just don't get why it's as popular as it is, but that's probably why. I can't beat the first boss. My potato reflexes are an issue. The first boss in what, Zubair? Dead Gods I was loving, but then the final sort of big run increases corruption from doors, and you have to fight 3 bosses back to back to back, and that game takes forever to get through. when they smoothed out the balance and the progression in Returnal, it was so much easier to play because you didn't feel that sense of a disproportionate amount of investment, right? If you're doing a disproportionate amount of investment, it doesn't click. When I was spending 45 minutes to an hour getting ready for Biome 3 and then dying in Biome 3 in like 2 minutes and dying from like a couple of hits, come on. No, get the frick out of here. Like, who wants to play that? Oh, you can't get me past the first boss in Returnal? The trick to the first boss in Returnal, if I remember right, is Phase 1 and Phase 2 are pretty straightforward. It's the melees. If you can start to time the melees, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Phase 1 is pretty much easy clap for the first boss in Returnal. You got to get down the dodging of the melees in Phase 2. I think he does a couple, but then Phase 3 he does it a lot. I might be foggy on my memory here. Eugene might be able to help with some tips. The timing is weird because there's if I'm remembering right, he'll move fast to you, and that's not your cue. Your visual cue is his arm, and that's when you want to dodge. If you can do that, the second boss does a looky-loo as well. The second boss does a movement and like a whip thing, and you'll misfire and you'll get hit anyway. Boss 3 is the hardest boss. Is Boss 3 with all the platforms and stuff? Boss 3, I basically was able to cheese it because I had the thing where once you get low health, you heal yourself, and he couldn't do enough damage to kill me. He would do some damage to me, and he would proc the healing, and by the time I healed all the way back up, it was back in a position where he might have a chance to hit me, and he'd hit me again. And then I would have enough time to heal back up. Like, I was essentially invincible. He couldn't output enough damage to kill me. It wasn't possible. So, I think Boss 4 is the greatest boss in the game. The organ, it is, oh my gosh. That was an experience. That was an experience. Like, my eyes were watering. I had goosebumps. It was... I've not had an experience like that since Hellblade. You're right, it just takes a century for my finger to move from the stick to the dodge. Oh. Right. Well, the thing you have to remember, and this is one of the things with iframes that's helpful, is... you're going to dictate the direction of the dodge with the left stick. Okay? So I think sometimes, and I do this, sometimes you want to like position first and then dodge. You have to prioritize dodge. Remap dodge to R1. That might not work. If you played too long, that might not work. The point is that if dodge is king... if dodge is king, then you can't take damage. Do you see what I'm saying? If you override your instinct of like, I want good positioning, I want like, you're trying to like turn your character or whatever, but if you know it's coming, you just dodge, just get the frick out of there. Boss 4 is so easy though. True, doesn't matter. Still the greatest boss in the game. It is visually and like from an auditory and visual perspective, it was just such a great experience. Even the last boss wasn't that hard. Boss number 3 is like the real boss of the game. Like Biome 3 and Boss 3 are like, that's it. That's the real challenge. That's the real king. I can see a game like Returnal really benefiting from the new PS controller with the back paddles. Oh yeah, that one back button being your dodge would be really nice. For Hades, I play with an Elite controller with dodge on the paddle. Oh. The moment when Lono recognized the song, it was great. That's another one of my favorite moments. When she says that, she's like, "Don't fear the Reaper." I was like, I got covered in goosebumps. I was like, oh my gosh. The way she said it, the way it connected. It was It was chef's kiss. I was so glad. One of the greatest things about Returnal is that none of you spoiled it. I couldn't believe it. Nobody wanted it. It was like, Lono, it's Don't Fear the Reaper. Like, you guys like, don't tell him. Like, because I thought it was like an old ancient, like, I thought it was an old school, like, gospel hymn. I was like, that'd be really crazy, really eerie. And then people were like, no, it's not it. Because I was like trying to guess what it was. And boy, oh boy, when she says that, oh. And it's so good because, like, it's a lyric that lines up with sort of her state of mind and you know, what she's going through, you know. Do you see the white shadow? Can you see the white shadow? So good. That's the moment I thought, yup, this is game of the year. The way I thought it was game of the year once the credits rolled. I was like, that's game of the year. Once the credits rolled, like they showed that cutscene, they show the accident, the music's playing. I was like, this is game of the year. This is amazing. This is so good. And then Eugene's like, you're not even done yet. I'm like, no. What's the lyric? It's Don't Fear the Reaper. I want Returnal merch that just says that. Just Don't Fear the Reaper, and just like her like cracked mask. I know there's like somebody designed a shirt like that, but it doesn't look very good. Every time you start talking about Returnal, I mute as fast as possible because I know spoilers are incoming. Hold up a sign when you're done. More cowbell. Yeah. Okay, here I'll hold up a sign for Zubair. I don't have a sign. I don't have a sign for that. We'll stop talking about Returnal. All right, we'll stop talking about it. But yeah, I think it. I thought it was great. Don't do it. He's still talking about it. No, I'll move on. I'm the most interested in if they decide with some of these titles, right? With like Ratchet and with Returnal and with some of the others, like Ghost of Tsushima. I'm really interested in the ongoing plan, sequel, DLC, like. Because my theory on Ghost of Tsushima is they're just going to keep adding islands and maybe turn it into a live service game. I don't know. I could even see them continuing the franchise and him passing on the ghost, like how to be a ghost. Like he would pass it on to somebody else, and then you wouldn't play as him in the next game. I missed the morning talk. Were there any good announcements in State of Play? There was nothing major. It was indie titles, which I think some of the indie titles looked good. I was really excited for Death's Door. Death's Door is coming to PlayStation November 23rd, which is really, really good for them. They did phenomenally well on Steam. 100,000 copies sold in their launch week. It's like a two-man team that built that game. So these guys have just got to be absolutely thrilled with the results of how their game is doing. Landing on PlayStation, I mean, and getting to be inside a big PlayStation stream video thing, I thought was probably pretty awesome for them, you know. I still have a lot of anti-Mongol hatred. I need a trip to the mainland. The State of Play announcement was that Eugene is disappointed. I don't even know if Eugene was disappointed. I think he expected it to be low-key. I think he was saying in the Discord last night he thought there'd be one big announcement, and obviously there wasn't. I mean, unless they thought the Square Enix announcement, unless they thought that was going to be big, I don't know. Maybe they thought that was going to be a big one. I don't know. Gamers hate the name State of Play. There's your recap. Yeah. What do you expect from Sony? It's the same game every year. Yeah. You play one game, you played them all. That's right. Yeah, it's not getting searched. We're not getting good results from it. So yeah, it didn't do it didn't do well in the public's eye. You know, we're covered anyway. I'm not concerned about that. But it's pretty clear. It's pretty clear the public did not approve. Going forward, State of Play will be followed by State of Eugene. That's good. That's good. Like, he's, what's his state? Given enough time, Batman couldn't even improve State of Play. Eugene says, y'all laugh. We are. I will literally find a PS5 to play the new Final Fantasy 16. Love that franchise. I wasn't even disappointed. I know. You were the one, bold enough to be the voice this morning that was sort of, disagreeing with me. So that's all. It has nothing to do with whether or not you were actually disappointed. It has nothing to do with that. It's not rooted in reality at all. It's just because you were the one that was actually going back and forth with me about it. The Halo narration voice. Oh, that narration voice was so... I know people are like, oh, it's Cortana. I was like, oh, that was bad. Little Devil Inside was the only one that caught my eye. I'm a little confused by Little Devil Inside. Like, Little Devil Inside gameplay looked... It was like, okay, there's like on-rails movement, and there's some on-rails traveling that you do. Then there's combat... And then you have little camps that you cook at and like inventory. I don't know. It seemed I couldn't quite get a wrangle on what exactly the game's content loop would look like. It was like, it didn't look bad, but it was also difficult for me to understand exactly what I was watching. It was like, I'm not necessarily sure that I understand the premise of the game. Like, what am I doing? What's the goal? What's the content loop in Little Devil Inside gameplay? I don't know. Creature was like, I can't believe you haven't played Bugsnax yet with Hilly, because I was like, yeah, you make a bug out of snacks, I guess. Don't need. I don't know why anybody would buy that control. That thing is awful looking. The 20th anniversary Xbox controller. I guess, what would you buy it and like set it on a shelf? I'm assuming you would buy it and set it on a shelf. You wouldn't actually use it. It looks so bad. What is that thing? Yeah, it's hideous. She sounds hideous. It looks hideous. Oof. Oh, that was a good one. Literally for nostalgia and playing OG Xbox games. I guess. It's the original Xbox controller. Yeah. I think Abe knows what it is. I think he's saying, like, what are those? Like, he knows what it is from a factual standpoint, but he's basically going, what are those? Yes. Or what is that thing? It's a shock. It's a shock to the system. It's a big controller. It's a big controller. Little Devil was all over the place. What exactly are you? Too much going on? Well, and the combat looked very thoughtful and methodical and slow, I don't know. I don't know. I can see that. It's just ugly, right? I would buy it if it was a table light. Just sitting there, but novelty light. Oh, yeah, that would be cool to have it be like an actual just like light, like it like lights up, you know what I mean? Exactly how big is it? I don't know, Christina. I don't know how to measure it. I mean, it's pretty big. Like, you would need both hands. It's large. It's large. How far did it get pushed back to? Have you played Guardians yet? No, I was going to play it this afternoon with you guys. We were going to allot time. It might be a good idea for us to shift the to the next show early. It might be. This isn't hitting. You guys are amazing. You guys have been tuning in pretty much no matter what, but this isn't hitting. So we may bump early to the New World stream, so that way we can cover. They're rolling out the transfers, and there's other things that they've updated as well, like bringing back the rushes. So I was going to update people on that, and then play the game for a little bit, and then after that we'll play some Guardians, and then after that we'll go over to SNTR Presents for the continuation of the Say No to Rage story. One of the benefits of not feeling like we have to cover variety, like we have New World now, we have gameplay that we can do, we have, content that's hitting SNTR Presents. That feels, like we can have a little bit more freedom to not feel like we have to stay and do a 3-hour show about State of Play. I thought maybe we might have like a groundswell of people kind of coming in to bash or to defend, just because whenever there's like a debate surrounding a showcase, you saw it this morning. I mean, we had like an hour to an hour and a half long debate about it, which was really enjoyable, but the general public doesn't seem to care about this showcase, this State of Play. It didn't land. It's the 24 hours after the last one, tons of people were looking for breakdowns and discussions, and today that's not the case. So that's just sort of the nature of covering gaming, is that like I remember when we covered the showcase the day after, and we had like a huge day. It like took me by surprise. Like I kind of wasn't expecting it. I really wasn't. I didn't think that was going to be what it was, but it was just one of those things where everybody was super interested, and it was largely because how could you not be? There was kind of something for everybody in the Sony showcase. Like every possible game that could have been covered was there. There's like every major first party title that they could have talked about was there. Did they put us? I bet you they put us in a game too. I didn't pick a game, but I bet you they put us in one. Oh no, they didn't. That's good. That might throw it off too sometimes. Like I think sometimes YouTube gets confused when you're in the gaming category but don't pick a game. Sometimes it makes me pick a game. It'll just pick one from the description, and sometimes it doesn't. So I'm not really sure why it does it, why it doesn't do it. There was a time where it would like grab a game name from your description and just put you in that game if you didn't pick one. It didn't do that this morning though. Okay, so we'll slap the next one in it'll be gaming news, because we'll kick off with the update. Okay. Let's do that. And I'll slot this for 11:30. That way people get hit with the 30-minute noti. Because we got a lot of people that are enjoying the New World coverage and probably opted to not tune in this morning. Yo, Kano becoming a member. We've not been getting a lot of new members here. A lot of continuation of memberships, both here and on the other channel, but we don't get a lot of new members, so thank you. Enjoy the dope badge and emotes. You're dope and deserve dope stuff. If you guys want to support the channel directly with a membership, that is greatly appreciated. You can also do it directly support the channel with coffee orders, the shirt command, the Amazon command. If you ever order anything on Amazon, use that Amazon command. It is an affiliate link that does support me. We appreciate everybody who regularly uses that. If I'm not live, you can use the command in the Discord. We should probably start adding that to the descriptions as well, for people that don't necessarily watch the live streams. Okay. All right. I love that there was a guy in the last video that said the $500 billion industry doesn't need your advice, and yet you're going to be on a call with them later. Well, they've had me on a call about upcoming features. This is a different call. This is with somebody that's going to help me with the channel, basically. But yeah, I roasted him up pretty good. I was like, a 6-year veteran in the industry of content creation doesn't need your advice. Who's mentioning me in general chat? This too, great exploits. Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't have time to watch that right now. Okay. That comment aged well, right. I mean, I was always on conference calls with Purple. They always wanted my feedback on stuff because I was constantly beating them up about bad decisions they were making. So, yeah. I would happily help YouTube think through live streaming because I did it for 5 years rather successfully. And I could give them a lot of pointers on how to do it right. You want to set chat right? You want to set up monetization in a good way? Do you want live streams to be a success? Well, then, I don't know. Maybe talk to somebody who is in the minimum, top 500 earners on Purple. You know what I'm saying? I maybe know a thing or two about live stream and successful monetization of a live stream. So, let's see here. Okay. I'll trade my PS5 for a Series X. Also, Lono, there's a bug in New World where if something you have on the market board sells while you're offline, you don't get the gold. Just a heads up. The frick? Does it happen consistently? Because I got gold the last time we checked it. We looked at the end of the stream, and then we looked at when I booted up the next day, and I had gotten gold from my from my sales. I don't know. That's weird. Above average streamer, right? Looking forward to getting some of the artwork from the kiddos with my coffee order. Oh, thank you, Kenneth. Did you order some more? Oh, we got 2 more coffee orders. Hang on 1 second. Let me pull these up here. I had to delete a Final Fantasy email. Hey, somebody ordered one of every color. Pork Pie 74 went for the yellow, green, and the red. They went for the rainbow. Thank you so much. And then 2 Frickmas bags to Rissick 25. Thank you. 2 Frickmas bags to Rissick. You guys are so awesome, man. A lot of coffee sales today. Thank you very much. If you want recommendations, ask the people in chat. A lot of people here regularly drink it. If you're between the light roast, the dark roast, and the Frickmas blend, it makes for great presents if you're visiting family for holidays and things like that. These are especially your friends that like coffee. It's reasonably priced, and then tell them if they like it just to go to rageousroast.com to order more. Oh, your pork pie. Thank you, Kenneth. I appreciate that. Mipsy coming in with a $5 tip. Love your content and love the backstory series. Keep on trucking. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it very, very much. We got a lot of things that we're planning in the pipeline. A lot of things. I was experimenting with my mixer last night, and the content hitting presents. Very excited. This piece of paper right here is literally just nothing but video ideas that I'm going to be trying to work on for presents, and we're going to try and make them a little bit longer. We feel like they've been a little bit short, and we're considering, where live AMA could fit. We don't want to go live on that channel too often. We feel like right now once a week is great. We're considering maybe doing a once a month thing. So if you're like, hey, your last 3 cultural commentaries were great, I didn't get a chance to pick your brain about the Chappelle situation or outrage or internet drama or anything I'm talking about. And so we're considering how we're going to do that. Keep in mind, if that's going to happen, that's going to be based off of response. So a stronger response and stronger support of those premieres that hit at 3 o'clock and bigger turnout and better numbers is going to push us to consider more opportunities for live AMA. So just consider that. If you're supporting presents and supporting those videos, we're going to be measuring response to decide where we think people are the most interested and when we should kind of land that kind of a thing. So just keep that in mind. We're going to respond to demand because how else are we supposed to do it, right? Rissick25 with a $10 tip. Always start the day with some Rageous Roast. I greatly appreciate that, man. Thank you. Thank you very much. What can I say to get a Lono roast? Just about anything coming from me? No. You've already got yours. Like, if somebody gets through a rough intro, like I think you were like poking the bear when I was playing Deathloop, and I gave you a little chin shot, maybe 1 or 2 chin shots. After that, you don't really get them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm you know, people try to manipulate me into rants and different tangents and things, and if I feel it's forced or you're trying to provoke it, I generally don't do it. I'm like, nah, I'm not I'm not your monkey on a leash here. You know what I mean? Clip it and enhance, get his secrets. I mean, all you're gonna do is see a bunch of potential future topics. It's not gonna do anything. The best way to get Lona to roast you is just make fun or poke the bear when he's failing at Dark Souls. Yeah, that's true. You didn't even get hit that hard, Abe. I was like, dude, I don't like that. Don't do that. Or tell him he doesn't care about the core audience. Both worked for me. Right. Why did Locke recover from his disability when the plane crashed on the island? Because the island healed him. That's what it does. Healed his leg later. Healed Benjamin Linus when he had his surgery a lot faster than than it should have. Healed his. He had a gunshot wound later in the series. Healed him then too. It removed Rose and Bernard. It removed Rose's cancer. There was something mystical about the island. Lost talk. I'm out. Never F with a man playing Dark Souls. You'll get cut. $5 from Mipsy says, dance, monkey, dance. That's right. Tell him you love steak with ketchup. That doesn't work. That doesn't work anymore either. That doesn't work anymore. The Star Wars one, all of it, you know, it doesn't work. The Star Wars, the ketchup, the steak, like it's, I know what you're doing, so I don't even respond half the time. You know what I mean? Dance Monkey is a good idea for new merch. Yeah, maybe. Because they were already dead. The real question is, why couldn't the island put Arnst back together after the dynamite incident? It heals. It doesn't necessarily regenerate atoms. Poor Arnst. It's hilarious your journey through Dark Souls 3 is the same as mine. How so? Reverse sear is not the proper method for making a good steak. Wait, they're dead? Dang it, just started season 6. No. That's a meme, Boris. They're not dead. That's just people memeing. There were people in here the other day ardently arguing with me. And I will tell you right now, I would consider myself a Lost expert, as much as I've watched it and as much as I know about it and have, you know, really paid attention to different elements and crossovers and stuff, and so I had to educate some people rather harshly on how no, they were not dead the entire time. Matter is neither created or destroyed. The island should have been fine. No, that's not how it worked, though. That's not how it worked. I started Kina, and I'm on the hardest difficulty. Are you using parry? If you, the parry is fine. No, it's not. No, it's not. I know when something's not working consistently. There is something in Barrier got far in the game and agreed with me. I wasn't pulling that out of thin air. There is something funky with what would we call them? There's cooldown frames or something in the game that doesn't feel natural, and it messes with parry. Feelings-wise, Yorm especially, and the dancer, how much damage she can do. Another fun fact, it's speculated you should have done Yorm before Aldrich because of his placement. Huh. Combination of parry and roll, it's a very tight window. No. There are times where you hit parry and nothing happens. The input is not received. It is either a bug or it is some sort of a cooldown that is never explained. There's no visual or audio cue for it. There were times where it happened and I was standing perfectly still. I had not previously done anything and she just wouldn't do anything. I don't know. You probably started playing after all the fixes to parry. Yeah, to be fair, Eugene, they did address issues with parry. They messed with it. So they said they made it easier or made the window easier. It's possible that they fixed it and they just didn't come out and say that it was busted. So they're like, yeah, we made it easier. Pfft. I was pushing the button and she just stood there. Didn't experience anything like that. They patched the parry though, so maybe they addressed it and just didn't stipulate that they addressed the whatever it was that was happening to me. Whatever it was that was happening to me, they may have addressed it. I could go back and play it, and I could tell you if they fixed it, because I know exactly what it felt like. I know exactly what it felt like. I haven't played since the changes. I'm still stewing. Yeah. Can you parry any boss or nah? Parry is a matter of timing. And it wasn't even a matter of me mistiming it and getting hit. She would literally just stand there and not do anything. Right? This came out pretty good. Oh, you weren't here this morning. I saw it and complimented. I said, oh man, I really like that thumbnail. It is freaking stellar. Yes, yes, yes. It looks great. It looks great. Part of me wonders if we need like Squid Game's on there twice. I love it over on the right, but I'm wondering if the left could be, I don't know, 5 things you'll love, and then have love really big. I don't know. 5 things you will love, and then just leave it at that. I don't know. It might be a little redundant right now with Squid Game on there twice, but I love the aesthetic and the color. It looks phenomenal. If you miss the window, you'll get hit. It's not about missing a window, Eugene. I miss windows in other games, and do you want to know what happens? My character initiates the animation and gets hit because I didn't time it properly. She just stands there. It's something else that was going on. Now, again, they may have patched it. Because they said they addressed issues with parry. Like Ghost of Tsushima, Demon Souls. It's you get a visual cue breakdown of like you didn't time the parry right? If you're early, you shield. If you miss, you get hit. If you're late, the animation should initiate and then she should get hit. There's enough frames of animation to show you didn't get the dodge done. You didn't get it done in time. She just stands there. There's no time for the animation. That's how close the window is. You're playing after the patch, so this is a pointless discussion. What was happening to me probably can't even happen to you because they literally said we've made parrying easier. So you want to make fun of me about Biome 3 and the patch and the balance in Returnal. You're playing the game after they patched the very thing that I'm ranting about. More than likely, you can't experience what I experienced. It's been patched out of the game. You'd have to somehow get a non-patched version. Is this a Dark Souls rant? No, Kena Bridge of Spirits, I'm telling you, it had issues with parry before the patch. I promise you it did. I have played Ghost of Tsushima, I have played Dark Souls, I have played Demon Souls, I have played Sekiro. I know when something's not working right. I wasn't just pulling it out of my butt. There was something else going on. Rambo the Nerd coming in with a tier 3 membership. That is very, very generous. Thank you so much, Rambo. Enjoy the dope badge and emotes. You're dope and deserve dope stuff. I appreciate people that do the higher tiers of membership, man. That's very, very kind. Very generous. If they patch it, I will buy it. I mean, Eugene, have you fought that boss yet that I fought with the thing around his neck? Have you fought him? Because that's when it really reared its head the most. Because the guy was like, well, you're not supposed to parry. You're supposed to do the thing. And I was like, oh, gosh. No, it's good. No. I don't care either way, Creature. I was just throwing out an idea. I think it looks great. My family wanted to go as this costume party. Oh yeah. The Squid Game costumes are a huge hit this year for Halloween. You just beat the big tree. The big tree. The guy with the lantern around his neck is when I was absolutely raging. I was absolutely raging. It was more frustrating. It was more frustrating than some of the Dark Souls bosses I've fought because the button wasn't working. Yo, Abe upgraded to a tier 2. Thank you so much. But are you playing after the patch? Yeah, he's playing after the patch. Like 2 weeks after the game came out, they addressed parrying. They said, oh, we've made the parry window easier. It wasn't that it was hard. It was that it didn't work. I got the bow and cleared the corruption from the one guy's house. Okay, yeah. So when you fight the guy with the lantern, I'll be curious if you run into any issues with parry. You're not really supposed to try to parry him. You're supposed to use the lantern and the stun on his shoulder and other things. You're not supposed to try to go toe-to-toe with him, but I don't know. I'm playing pretty tough games now. I think I can manage parrying in a boss in Kana, and I'm telling you, the button just wouldn't work sometimes. And Barrier backed me on this. He kept playing. He got pretty far, and he said it got worse. He said it was really frustrating. You would lose fights, and you could just tell that something wasn't working properly. You know? The best bit about the Lost news is that J.J. Abrams is exclusively tied to Warner Brothers, so he can't interview with it. Wait, Disney is talking about a new Lost TV show? What? Contacting some of the OG cast? I don't know about that. To this day, I talked to my wife about this. To this day, I don't know why they didn't do a spin-off series called The Dharma Initiative. I don't know why they didn't do that. You could do a mini-series run, 3 or 4 seasons, and just establish the science and the discoveries and all the crazy crap that led to the Dharma Initiative, because they leave all that a mystery. You know that they end up on the island, but you don't know how they started, how they formed. You don't know what research led to it. There was the guy that was backing all the funding. You don't know anything about him. It's all shrouded in mystery. I don't know why they never did a show. I mean, it would have been hugely popular. And if done properly, it could have been dope. If Damon Lindelof isn't writing it, I don't want it. Lost was almost 20 years ago. Both Hughes and Lindelof admitted that they had not been approached by Disney about rebooting or spinning off Lost for a modern audience. Oh, they've not been approached? I don't know. A bunch of my kiddos were wearing tracksuits and masks at school. Back home, that would cause a riot. What? No, it depends on the school. Some schools are still having the kids do the mask thing. Oh, were they wearing the mask? You couldn't see their face, like the masks with the symbols on them. Lindelof 100% needs to be involved. They planned that show from beginning to end. Lost minus Evangeline Lilly, no thanks. They might not be able to afford her now. She's big time, man. She's big time. She's a member of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. She's aged really well though. Like you could easily throw her in there and it wouldn't look like. She looks great. She doesn't look that much older at all from when she was on Lost. Like on Lost, she does look pretty young. Like she's very like youthful in her face. She looks super young. But you could easily cast her in that now. SG Mass Frontman 2, pretty fun here. But an urban JP... Oh, yeah, no, you ain't walking into JCPS doing that. No. And to be fair, I wouldn't want that either. Like, some kids are pretty tall. You can't have, like, varying sizes of people just walking into a school with... like, you don't know who they are. That's not a good idea. Now, to be fair, though, Sven, they didn't plan Lost beginning to end. They admitted that. Season 2, they were, like, flying by the seat of their pants. And 3, they got things back on track. And then they wrote 4, 5, and 6 out. Season 1 was a smash hit. It was critically acclaimed, got a bunch of awards. Season 2 was highly criticized because it was all over the dadgum place. Because they said, like, we didn't know what we were doing. Like, we didn't know where things were going. And then it was, I think, during Season 3 or something, they wrote out 4, 5, and 6. 6 is poorly paced, but really good. It's got good things that happen. But it's freaking paced. It's horrible pacing. Combat was very wonky and very frustrating. Parry definitely did not trigger consistently. When Kana released, everyone was saying the same. Yeah. Has anyone addressed that Marvel has been successful because they've taken some of the best actors and actresses from Lord of the Rings? What? Who? Who are you talking about? I'm trying to think. Who have they... Other than... Well, those weren't even that great. Ian for Magneto. Who am I completely forgetting? Evangeline? But she wasn't Lord of the Rings. She was Hobbit, wasn't she? She was only in Hobbit. Who on earth from Lord of the Rings is in the MCU? Who am I completely forgetting? Like, Ian McKellen is Magneto, but those movies didn't do very good. Red Skull? He's in one movie, and he doesn't play him again. Hugo Weaving is only in the first Avenger. It's an impersonator when he shows up in the later movies. That's not him. That's the guy that plays, he's Aaron from The Walking Dead. Hugo Weaving's in one movie and then said, I want out. He's not in the others. Yeah, I thought it was him. That's how good that guy is at impersonating. That's not him. Right? It's it. Well, he crushes it. He crushes it. You think that it's him. Yeah, I mean, Martin Freeman, he was Hobbit, and then what? I guess Andy Serkis. That's Carl Urban? Who's Carl Urban play? Yeah, it's Ross. Yeah, Ross Marquand. Yeah. Endgame. Isn't he also in Infinity War? He's Infinity War because he talks to Thanos. Oh, Thor Ragnarok. That's right. Thor Ragnarok. Carl Urban's in Thor Ragnarok. Yeah. I present to you my stuff. That's right. Yeah. That's not a major player, though. Who said this? What were you thinking? The main MCU cast does not have any ties to Lord of the Rings. Maybe Hugo conflicted with Mortal Engines? No, he said I swear Hugo said in an interview he didn't want to play the character anymore. I don't think he liked it. I don't think he liked being Red Skull. I swear there's an interview somewhere where he kind of was like, yeah, no. Who's the one dude? Smeagol? Yeah, I mean, he plays Claw, but again, that's a pretty minor role. Claw's in Age of Ultron and then Black Panther. Right? That's the 2 times Claw shows up, and it's pretty minor. It's not huge. None of those people are the reason MCU is successful. Do you want to know why the MCU is so successful? Whoever is in charge of casting. That's it. It's the cast. Okay, so Vengeance put a screenshot in here. I don't think anybody would say, oh yeah, I guess she is Hela, but she's probably one of the flattest characters in it. I mean, there certainly is a lot of crossover. I will give you that. But you're including Liv Tyler, who's in the terrible Hulk movie. Hugo Weaving, again, is in one movie, basically. And then you got other small, super, super small parts. Hugo Weaving explains why he wasn't in Infinity War. It wasn't because of makeup. And why he's not coming back for Matrix 4. So what was the reason? I don't like clicking on articles like that while I'm streaming. It was a joke. Y'all are taking this way too seriously. Hell is still minor. Yeah. Y'all forget that RDJ was in disguise as an orc. Was he really, or are you joking? Contracts getting pushed back? Huh. I thought it was because, like, he didn't like the makeup, like, it took too long. That was probably just, like, a rumor that got spread, you know? I thought for sure he just opted out and was like, nah, I'm good, you know? Hello was way OP. Weird that she's a one-off. Let's see. Weaving said, I loved playing the character. It was a lot of fun. We were obliged to sign up for 3 pictures. I was thinking Red Skull probably wouldn't come back in Captain America, but may come back as a villain in the Avengers. By then, they'd pushed back on the contracts that we agreed on, so the money they offered me for the Avengers was much less than I got for the first one, and this was for 2 films. And the promise when we first signed the contracts was that the money would grow each time. They said, it's just a voice job. It's not a big deal. I actually found negotiating with my agent I actually found negotiating with them through my agent impossible, and I didn't really want to do it that much, but I would have done it. That isn't surprising at all, because RDJ at one point helped them all get paid more. Yo, more coffee, a light roast, and a Frickmas blend to Astro Candy. Thank you so much, Astro Candy. None of that surprises me, Sven, because at one point, they were basically not going to be paying a lot of the cast. In RDJ's mind, they weren't getting paid enough. They were supposed to be, as Hugo was saying, my memory of it is they were supposed to be getting more money every time, and they weren't doing that. And RDJ was like, I'm walking if you don't pay these people. Like, increase their pay or I walk. Because he knew, without him, you don't have an MCU in the early stages. He was it. Like, everybody did a great job, but RDJ was the magnet. He was the tent pole. Without him, you don't start the MCU the way that it started. No frickin' way. No way at all. It would have gotten to the place that it did without him. So he basically was like, I'm walking if you don't pay them more. Because that was the agreed upon thing, was first movie this much, and then every movie after you'll be paid more. Because they knew the franchise was going to explode and do well. They had to. You know, they had to. Halloween never saw a body, so they could come back. I'm pretty sure historically that happens. She dies, but you know, like you said, you don't see a body. You know what I mean? We watched a couple episodes of What If. We'll go back eventually. We enjoyed it, but now we're finishing up on Lost. But he took all the money in Iron Man 2, and that's why they changed to Don Cheadle. No, that's not why they changed to Don Cheadle. They went back and offered What's-His-Face less money, and he was like... And they did the same thing. Apparently, it got much better after this thing. Ike Perlmutter was removed from the Marvel movies, and it was Iger and Feige, but then the ScarJo stuff makes you pause. Apparently, the Russos are open to returning to the MCU now that the ScarJo stuff is settled. No, I thought they came back to Terrence Howard and offered him less money. And they basically told him, it doesn't matter. We can change you, it doesn't matter. Like, they offered Terrence less money. It sounds like they did the same dadgum thing to Hugo Weaving. They were like, yeah, it's not a major role. We're not paying you more. He wanted more money. Well, of course he wanted more money. It sounds like that was the promise. Like, yeah, you'll be in the first movie, and then when we do more movies, you'll be paid more. Like that, I don't know. It sounds like they kept trying to get away with not doing that. Thought he wanted more than RDJ? I highly doubt that. Terrence Howard said, It turns out that the person I helped become Iron Man, when it was time to re-up for the second one, he took the money that was supposed to go to me and pushed me out. The unnamed he would be Robert Downey Jr., who was famously paid extraordinarily amounts of money for his run as Tony Stark in no fewer than 10 MCU films. Howard elaborated after Andy Cohen commented, "The word was that you wanted the same money as Downey. According to Howard, we did a 3-picture deal, so that means that you did the deal ahead of time. It was going to be a certain amount for the first one, a certain amount for the second, and a certain amount for the third. They came to me with the second one and said, look, we will pay you 1/8 of what we contractually had for you because we think the second one will be successful with or without you. And I called my friend that I helped get the first job, and he didn't call me back for 3 months." So he's blaming RDJ. Like RDJ should have stepped in, he's claiming. I thought RDJ stepped in at one point for everybody and was like, you need to pay these people more, I'm walking. I swore that was a story that I read. Like, yeah, RDJ is going to walk if you don't pay, blah, blah, blah. It sounds to me like, to a certain degree, in the second movie, he'd only done one, right? In the second movie, he'd only done one. For RDJ to like turn around and be like, no, pay him more money, I don't know. He might not have wanted to. We don't know the full details of why RDJ didn't step in to help Terrence Howard get paid more money. He didn't answer their question either. They basically asked him, you thought you should be paid as much as Downey. He didn't answer that question. He simply said that they came back and offered him less, and Robert didn't return his phone call. Robert Downey Jr. fought for his Avenging co-stars when Marvel threatened to fire them for asking for more money. Yeah, that was what I read. Yeah. So the second movie hasn't even been shot yet, and Terrence, I guess, expected RDJ to take up for him. If Terrence was asking for as much money as Downey made, now they shouldn't have offered him an 1/8, but you didn't deserve as much money as RDJ. Are you freaking kidding me? He's the main character. While Downey felt he wasn't not paid enough, others were paid pittance in comparison. The report quoted the insider saying some received only $200,000 for the Avengers and Downey got $50 million. On what planet is that okay? Fearful that the things might quickly unravel, Downey reportedly went to Marvel and urged them to pay everyone better salaries. Sources say that the actor put his own role as Iron Man on the line and refused to back down. Given all the money Iron Man made Marvel, the studio agreed to Downey's request and paid the cast competitive salaries. Age of Ultron, of course, went on to become another success and made $1.4 billion in ticket sales. It's so hard to get the straight story then. So he did go in and help people get paid more, but he also was paid, considerably more and didn't think he was paid enough. I don't know. How'd they replace him when a 3-year movie deal was signed? Probably all those deals are pending renegotiation. Like, they probably can come back and say, we want to renegotiate. I thought it was a later Phase 2 or 3 when RDJ was going to walk. Yeah, it sounds like going into Age of Ultron is when he said, listen, pay them more, I'm out of here. If they had a 3-movie deal with Terrence Howard and agreed on a salary for those movies, Marvel's wrong for coming back and saying, we changed our mind, here's 1/8. Right, because they were like, we don't need you, so take it or leave it. I don't think RDJ has anything to do with that. It was the second movie. Once RDJ had more negotiating power, he used it. He went back and said, listen, pay them or I walk. Like, pay them competitive salaries or I'm out of here. He didn't have negotiating power going into the second movie. What was he going to say? I'm going to walk on the second movie? The first 2 Thor movies did not age well, but 3 is wonderful. Yeah, Thor 1 and 2 are okay. They're not bad, but they're certainly not great. Yeah, Ragnarok is my favorite out of the entire franchise. Ragnarok is magnificent. If they made the deal, he could sue for breach of contract. Right, so he didn't, yeah, it wasn't in writing, more than likely. It was probably like, this is the first contract with the promise of increase with the next 3. With the number 2 in movie 3. And RDJ going into movie 2 probably was not in a position. He was not in a position to be like, you better pay Terrence or I'm walking. Like, it's a bummer that he didn't return his friend's phone call. But again, there's always, listen. We know very well in this community, there's always two sides to every story. There's always two sides to every story. So, you know, the minute RDJ had negotiating power, it sounds like he used it to the benefit of his castmates. But going into Iron Man 2 wasn't even that great. Like, you know what I'm saying? He might have looked at the script and thought, I'm going to take the money and run. For all Robert Downey Jr. At that point in time might have thought, we'll do a trilogy and this is going to fall on its face because this doesn't look like a great story. Like, who knows? He could have looked at the script and thought, this isn't going to go. This isn't going to go for 10 years. I'm getting my money and I'm getting the frick out. Like, I don't know. You don't know what his state of mind was looking at that project. You know, now looking at Avengers Age of Ultron, he was like, come on, let's go. Pay him. You're going to make $1 billion. It was super rushed, and that's why Favreau walked away. What did Favreau walk away from? He's in Iron Man 2. Is he not? That's why he allegedly walked away from Marvel. He directed the first 2 films. Oh, he directed the first 2 and then walked away as a director because he's in a handful of the movies. I like Jeff Goldblum in Ragnarok. He brought the right amount of weird. Oh, he's fantastic. He's so fantastic. I love the short they do where he's like he gets a roommate. That's amazing. He gets a roommate and they have like little interviews and stuff. Like he ends up on Earth. What do you mean walked away? He's happy? No, I know he plays happy. Somebody in the Discord said he walked away from Marvel. I'm like, in what capacity did he walk away from Marvel? Like he's still in some of the more recent films. He's literally at the end of Endgame with Tony's daughter. Like in what capacity did he walk away? Walked away as director, like that echelon walked away? He still acts in stuff like Spidey and Avengers, but he doesn't direct the films anymore. Oh, okay. So it's rumored that he allegedly walked away from directing because of how things were being handled, like being rushed and stuff. I mean, that's entirely possible. He's a sharp guy, you know. Favreau's done good things with Mando, so I like him. Let him direct stuff. He's good. He's an executive producer? Yeah, that's what I was saying. I thought he was in directing and production still. Like, walking away from directing, maybe he just didn't like directing because of the maybe he felt rushed, maybe there were creative differences, and he just didn't like directing. He was like, I can't work, I don't want to work in these time frames, right? But if he's still on the production, if he's still considered a producer, then he's still involved pretty heavily. He might have just walked away from directing because, I don't know, maybe he didn't like the timelines and he was like, I can't work creatively in this time constraint. I don't know. Everybody's in the upcoming Spider-Man. I'm actually angry about the Spider-Man trailers. I am. They showed too much. I was angry. I watched it and I was like, dadgummit, I shouldn't have watched this. I knew I was going to watch the movie. I knew I was probably going to enjoy the movie. I should not have watched this trailer. The trailer was like, here's the entire movie plot. Thanks. Why don't you just roll credits at the end of the trailer while you're at it? Creative differences of the movie he had control over. He doesn't control timeline, though. That comes down from higher up, doesn't it? Doesn't timeline of, like, if he felt projects were rushed, timeline might not have been in his control. So maybe he was like, I don't want to direct. If this is the timeline you're setting, then get another director, you know. I don't know at executive producer level what's he in charge of. I don't know. Again, somebody put it in the Discord, so it could be a total rumor. He might have been happy and still is happy, not the character happy, but he might be totally satisfied. He just maybe couldn't find time for the directing. He was like, I don't have time for it. Glad I chose not to watch the trailer then. Yeah, do not watch the Spider-Man trailer if you haven't watched it yet. There's no reason to. If you're a fan of Marvel, just watch the movie and enjoy it. The friggin' trailer, it's like the trailer for The Italian Job. We had a friend who he was insisting that we watch the trailer for the movie before watching the movie. And we were like, no, and we didn't do it. And then after watching the movie, we watched the trailer, and we're like, do you see? Do you see why you can't do this? Like, the trailer for Italian Job literally shows the entire movie. Like, every major event, every really cool moment is in the freaking trailer of Italian Job. It was like, why would you do that? Like, just roll credits at the end. I don't need to watch 2 hours. I got it. Saw it. I know what happens. Cool. You know? Mark Wahlberg punches Ed Norton, and then they use Mini Coopers to steal everything. And then they drop his truck into the sewer. Where's my truck? Like, there, that's the movie. Roll the credits. Roll the credits. There's so much more y'all don't even know. It's such a small secret. Even still, Wheeze, I don't want to know as much as I do. I don't want to know as much as I do. I feel like I saw the first, 30 minutes of the movie. Why is Dropbox trending? Why is Dropbox trending? What? I don't understand why Dropbox is trending. Is something going on? Dropbox M1 support. Companies seemed reluctant, but Apple policy appears to be the issue. Oh, they're having trouble getting support? I don't understand. I saw Dropbox trending on Twitter, and I was like, okay. Why? It seems like they were having an issue with support on Apple. Dropbox seemingly has no plans to natively support Apple Silicon Macs. Why is that making them trend? Does Venom suffer from not being R-rated? I thought Venom was a wonderful surprise. I thought Venom was a wonderful surprise. I thought it was funny. I thought it was well done. I love Tom Hardy. Yeah, I thought Venom was surprisingly great. Just super fun. Yeah, super fun. Not, there's nothing about it that I think is like, there's nothing life-changing, but I think it's really fun. I think a lot of people went into Venom with like expectations it was going to be at the level of like, I don't know, Venom 2 was great. Wait, is Venom 2 already released like in theaters? I've not even been paying attention to it. It would have been better if R-rated? I don't know. I sometimes think that gets overstated too. Like you don't need R-rated to make a great movie, especially Venom. Like I think it hit the right tone of what Venom is. It came out early in October. I don't pay attention to theatrical releases because we don't go to the theater. It's just too hard. It's too hard to get a sitter. Yeah, pile of heads, pile of bodies. It's great. It's great. Eddie. Yeah, I'll just wait and watch it at home. I'll wait and watch it at home. It has a good post-credit scene. Okay, cool. I've been hoping Venom would go more the Deadpool route. I mean, I'm not going to say that they couldn't have, but I don't think that they needed to, right? I think there's a difference between being like, yeah, Venom could have been super violent like Deadpool 2 and people, and Juggernaut like ripping him in half and stuff, like, right? Deadpool 2 was like ridiculously violent. They could have done that with Venom. I don't know if they needed to. Venom can land in sort of the Spider-Man vibe. Do you know what I'm saying? Spider-Man's vibe is certainly not Deadpool's. Like the Spider-Man comics, the Spider-Man stories, they don't need to be super violent to be good or scary or dark. And so Venom could have been uber violent, but they just didn't need to. Plus, with Disney being involved, they don't want more Deadpool route stuff because it's hard for them. They don't know what to do with the Punisher or Deadpool. Like, they don't know what to do with them. Like, I would love, like, Johnny Bernthal is Frank Castle. Johnny Bernthal is the Punisher. I want more Punisher, but where the frick are you going to put Frank Castle? Where are you going to put him? If you want him to be done right. Even Daredevil was super violent. So it's like, where are you going to put Daredevil? Where are you going to put the Punisher? And where are you going to put Deadpool? I don't think Disney likes having that property. It's difficult for them to slate it in their current structure of like Disney Plus, you know? So I'm not sure what their plans are long terms with those characters because they bought the rights for them. And then it's like, okay, so what are you going to do now? What are you going to do with Frank Castle and Deadpool and Daredevil? What are you gonna do with them? Yeah, put them on Hulu. Yeah, have Fox handle it and have them just keep them on Hulu, or I don't know, leave them on Netflix where they were born. Yeah, crazy idea, right? Like Frank Castle saved the second season of Daredevil, in my opinion. Johnny Bernthal saves the second season. Daredevil second season did the same thing that they always do with characters. Like, let's all of a sudden create this weird teenage love angst story, and I just thought it was awful. There's a Disney Plus section that has mature titles. Yeah, but I think the Disney Marvel world and philosophy, I don't think they want that container to have that stuff, right? It's not that they don't want to have some mature stuff like Disney Plus or, you know, American Horror Stories on Disney Plus UK. Disney, Marvel, America, like they don't want it. It's like they don't want it on there. Now that might change. That may be changing. I don't know. I have no idea. Deadpool 3 is R-rated. They're making it. Oh, I know they're making it, but where's it gonna live? Where does Deadpool 1 and 2 live right now? Like, I think you can rent it or own it on Amazon digitally, right? They seem to be handling, like, Disney Marvel properties, they seem to be handling completely differently. It would be like suddenly trying to get Disney Star Wars properties. Like, can we do something super violent? They'd be like, no. Like, we don't want to do that. Because they know that's a threat to the property. Because you have parents and families subscribing to Disney Plus and being like, yeah, sure, you can watch all the Marvel stuff. And suddenly Deadpool shows up in there. You might lose subscribers. And I'm like, why is this in here? Deadpool will live under the Fox umbrella. Disney has stated as such. Well, I would love to see them do the same thing with the Punisher and Daredevil. I would love to see them do that with the Punisher and Daredevil because they're good characters and they did a phenomenal job, and you know, it would be great to get more. You have to opt into mature content. Sure, but I just think they like it to be super, super pure. Moon Knight with Oscar Isaac is rumored to be R-rated. This will be great because Moon Knight is super violent. Huh. What does that have to do? What does that have to do with the Wolvie game? I don't. Are you asking me? I bet you the Wolvie game ends up being. It might be pretty tame. Like, where can you walk? Where can you watch Logan right now? Where do they have Logan living? Is Logan on Disney Plus? Oh gosh, OG Boxer. That is an unpleasant thing to say. Oh, you're asking Sinos. Oh, what? Sinos brought up Wolvie? Part of the negotiations because Wolvie is a whole Disney-owned character. The last film in the contract, but I think the extension that happened, and it isn't announced, and that's why the Wolverine game is being made. Disney UK has Logan. Yeah, see, they handle Disney property, Marvel property especially, they handle it so differently in America for some reason. It has to be because of their own market research. Like, they know that the Western Disney audience will potentially reject violent or R-rated content. It's got to be. It has to do something with the demographic study that they've done on like the American audience, right? It's got to be. Yeah, like the UK just views R-rated content differently than we do. One isn't right and one isn't wrong. It's just like it's a cultural difference. Like our countries and our cultures, our philosophies are just all there. There's common ground, but there's a lot of things. I don't know. No, I don't think it's that, Soldier, because they're not a big fan of Disney anyway. They're not a big fan of Disney. The Uber, Christian far right or whatever, they're not a fan of Disney. Like, that's not, it's possible that's playing a role, but I don't think it isn't the violence. Yeah, but we're not talking about that. We're talking about Deadpool. We're talking about The Punisher. We're talking about Logan. We're talking about movies that are violent. Disney, for whatever reason, is like, in the West, in America, violent R-rated Disney Marvel property, it would probably be bad for their subscription base. I don't know why. Logan's on the Canadian Disney as well. It's an American thing. It's got to be. There's some projected study that they've done. It could be our history with Disney movies, the animated movies in Disney World. We have more of a, Mickey Mouse fantasy idea of Disney. I don't know. R-rated movies don't lend themselves well to toys and merch for kids, and that's a lot of cash grab to give up. Right, yeah, there could be more of a Western vertical funnel for, Mickey Mouse and Iron Man and Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader for merch sales and t-shirt sales and everything else, and you start throwing R-rated stuff on there, and they start seeing Deadpool and The Punisher and everything else, and you would potentially maybe, I don't know, you would lose Western audience members. How many people here right now love Deadpool, The Punisher, and all of that, but you have Disney Plus because of all of the Star Wars and Marvel stuff that's there already? Like, you're the demographic that wants it, but you're still subscribed anyway. Like, do you see what I mean? They probably stand to lose subscribers by putting that content on there, but you're subscribed anyway because you love Marvel and Star Wars. There's no risk at losing you. It's not like if they don't bring Punisher, Deadpool, or make Venom violent. It's not like if they don't do that like you're not going to subscribe to Disney Plus because like I want violence. Like that's typically not the way that it works. Like, as an example, like I don't swear. I'm a safe for work broadcaster. So no one's gonna unsub and not watch me because I'm not dropping F-bombs. But if I start dropping F-bombs, I would certainly lose subscribers and supporters because they'd be like, I don't want to hear that. You see how it works? It's definitely religious influence here. I mean, sure, entertainment in the West is certainly still being siphoned through a more conservative ethic about entertainment and consumption of content. That is certainly true. The ratings of television, what has been allowed on television. When we went to Toronto as kids, their commercials had nudity in them and we couldn't believe it, right? That's 25 years ago. 25 years ago, there's topless women in Canadian commercials when we're in Toronto. You come back to America, absolutely not. You gotta buy like HBO if you want to see somebody take their top off. Like that is not on television in America. Largely influenced by a more conservative ethic and a more traditional conservative view of like entertainment. That is still certainly carried over into now, and things are being siphoned through that. Like, I was raised in a family that thought that way, and I still, in some respects, think that way. I don't want my kids to see that. I don't want them to have access to that kind of content. And so, I'm a 39-year-old, almost 40-year-old dad who thinks still very much in a vein of a more traditional, like, if you want that content, it's fine, but it should be in the proper avenues and in the proper areas. It shouldn't be out in view. as what drove my commentary about Twitch being an adult website, was very much driven by that idea in my brain, like my upbringing, even my own personal thoughts now about content, entertainment, and what is good to be consumed and not to be consumed at different ages. So, you know, I watched Predator, Terminator, and RoboCop all before I was 10. I turned out all right. Every time this subject comes up, people are always going to say that. Like, you know, well, I watched XXX rated content when I was 10 and I'm totally fine. I would rather rely on like child psychology studies that show what children should be exposed to at ages and when it's appropriate and when they have appropriate categories for understanding. I'd rather lean on that than like anecdotal evidence of like, you think you turned out all right. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not really concerned with the fact that like you're not going around acting like a crazy person. You're not an axe murderer. So, yeah, it's totally fine. Show 10-year-olds Predator. Like, that's not the way that we establish standards for impressionable, young, developing minds. Like, that's not, we don't use that as the measure. You know what I mean? Like, you know, that's not how standards and practices in like those categories are established. I would lean on child psychologists or behavioral brain scientists that have studied brain behavior and brain patterns of like why you should limit screen time for your children and everything else. I would lean on that more than, you know, everything else. When boobies are more objectionable than murder, we know the standards of entertainment are askew. Sure, and that again is a Western thing, right? Like all of the breastfeeding, you know, controversies that have happened over the years. It's absurd. It shouldn't be a problem at all. Like, you know, you see more walking past a mall Victoria's Secret sign, you know, that an advertisement than you're going to see if a woman is, you know, breastfeeding her baby in Starbucks. Like, you're going to see way more walking past a Victoria's Secret, like, sign than you're going to see if a woman's feeding her baby in a Starbucks. It's just not even comparable. But people, like, they get all, you know, you can't have boobies. Like, the fear of the boobie is real. And again, it's a more conservative, like, you know, like overemphasization on modesty-driven idea that isn't healthy. Like, it's an exaggerated idea that, like, that's somehow like, oh no, you know, that's a problem. Now, people, you know, I would say there's a giant difference between like a man and a woman. Like, if you, again, and this is the context thing, right? There's a giant difference between a woman on Instagram taking a picture of herself breastfeeding her baby, because that's the kind of content she creates. She's a mom. She's you know, invested in like breastfeeding groups and everything else, and maybe she's even a lactation consultant, okay? There's a big difference between that and content where most of the time in entertainment where people's clothes are flying off, it's not content suitable for children. Like, do you see what I'm saying? It's rare for the presence of a bare breast in a movie to be benign, right? Maybe in Titanic, maybe, but even then, we know what that leads to. Like, that's not content suitable for children, generally speaking. In most movies and television shows where the clothes are flying off, you wouldn't show that to a child. You just wouldn't. It's not appropriate. You know, they're at a development age where their brain shouldn't be consuming content of that nature. It just isn't right. There's an appropriate time for people to be able to see or experience those things, and a 9-year-old shouldn't be watching, you know, Game of Thrones. You let your kid watch it, that's fine. That's your choice. But there's science behind this. If they don't have the proper categories for it, it can be traumatizing and bad for their development and bad for their view of whatever that is. So, yeah, Toronto was dope when we were there. It was pretty awesome. We liked it. We saw like Phantom of the Opera at Pantages Theater. It was like, I think it was like one of the last years that they did it there, and then Niagara Falls and all that. Would you show it to a 16-year-old? No. Should be framed appropriately for a 13-year-old? Yes. Yeah, like at a certain point, these things should be talked about in an educational way. But again, like a scene in Game of Thrones, like a sexual scene in Game of Thrones, isn't educational. It isn't. It's entertainment. It's maybe a little bit more than that, right? I don't think that's appropriate for younger ages. It just isn't. That's not. There's there's science behind this. Like, there needs to be a proper categorization and framework for understanding what those things and what those acts are, so they can develop a healthy view of it, so that when they're 20, they don't have some weird, distorted view of these things because they spent late nights on the internet or, replaying their favorite Game of Thrones scene. So, oh wow, we're close to the 3-hour mark. Did we set up the next stream, didn't we? We did. It was actually pretty funny when we were in Toronto in the hotel room. We were all like laughing and giggling and watching the TV, and like my mom came in and like turned it off, like took the remote away. Okay. Okay, so the second one is scheduled, and then not yet. Yeah, and the redirect is set. Okay. Okay, let me get the game. Well, I don't need the game loaded up yet. What I need is the video that I typically use. New World soundtrack. The New World soundtrack video is like perfect. It just like goes through the biomes and like shows really cool stuff. Okay. So we have an update and a patch from New World that I'll be updating you guys on here briefly in another stream about transfer. It's a transfer update. Basically, it's a big update, the fact that they're rolling it back out. And PlayStation PC is trending. Why? Sony now uses PlayStation PC label for its PC games. Oh, cool. PlayStation PC. That's a label that they're using now for their PC games. Aside from breastfeeding, you got to cover them up. It's not good for kiddos. But that's not universally true. I wouldn't say that's universally true. There's plenty of cultures where women run around bare-chested and no one thinks anything of it. It's an established cultural norm in America that is something that should be covered up. But that's not true in other countries. Kids don't even think about it. There's a giant difference between someone being bare-chested and sexual content. They're not equal. They aren't. A woman walking around bare-chested in, parts of Africa, that's just normal life. That's just day-to-day life. No one over there thinks anything of it. Kids aren't being messed up by it or traumatized by it or confused by it. It's just normal. It's just normative, right? So, but the West is probably 25 years away from that, I would think. I would think in 25 years you'll go to a beach or a pool and there'll be women walking around topless. I would bet in about 25 years it'll be more common and more normal. It won't be considered wrong. It won't be considered illegal. But it's going to take a super, super long time to turn that rudder. It's not going to happen overnight. But that movement is going to get more traction, and in about 25 years, that'll be pretty common, And it won't be something that you're warned about. There won't be like a sign up that says like topless beach or whatever, You think 100 years? I'm thinking 25. I'm thinking 25 years, It's not Western as a whole, it's just the States. Yeah, I guess I shouldn't say it's a Western thing. It is very much an American thing. Yeah, because Canada doesn't think the way that we do on this. Yeah. They've been able to go topless for decades in Canada. Yeah, no, yeah. I would say we're 25 or 30 years behind that. I would think. I don't know. I gotta run upstairs and go to the bathroom super quick, and then I'll come back and we're gonna shift gears. Okay? All right, I'll be right back. Oh, okay. All right. Okay, let me get you guys a link of where we're going. And this will be a New World coverage stream with some gameplay after the fact. Let me feature it, or did I already do that? Nope, let's feature it on the channel. And then I'll give you a link. And it should, the live redirects again have gotten better, especially when I actually do it properly. So if you don't get the live redirect, you can follow that link to go over where we are going. Okay. I'm gonna try and do this the right way. Thanks for clicking on the video. If you clicked on this video, it's going to be me walking through the patch and the server transfer update. They have been reinstated, but they will be rolling out, and I will be giving you some of my advice about how to approach this. If you like these streams, these past broadcasts, or these talk shows, hit subscribe and the bell button. That way you don't miss my live streams. Now, we open these videos with like a little recorded